meeting of the Township Council is called to order. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that adequate notice of this work session regular meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the municipal complex and transmitted to the officially designated newspapers a list of dates annually, indicating that this work session regular meeting would take place at the Franklin Township Municipal Complex at 7 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, June 26, 2012. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing, which will be given, and remain standing for the invocation, which will be given by myself.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us take the next moment of silence to each seek in our own way whatever sources of inspiration will grant us the strength and power in our thoughts and decisions to be for the benefit of all people at all times. Let the council, each one of us, draw wisdom and strength to govern for the benefit of all of our residents. Amen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll of the council.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Councilwoman Francois. Deputy Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Mayor Levine.
Here.
Councilman Prasad.
Here.
Councilman Regan.
Here.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Here.
Councilman Vasanella.
Here.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, thank you. We have today, we're following along on our agenda. Please feel free to get up at any time. They're over by our clerk, Ms. McCarthy. You can pick up the associated ordinances, resolutions at any time. That's perfectly fine to do. So we're at item number 5, commendations and proclamations, of which we have one. Presentation of the Community Foundation check to Second Chance for Animals, Councilman Rajiv Prasad and Councilman James Vasanella.
Yeah. This is a resolution.
Our community foundation has limited funds, and we are trying to do the best with what we have. We wish we had more money. We were confronted with a situation with Second Chance for Animals where there are people who are actually giving up their pets because they can't afford to. And so to help them out rather than fill up our animal shelter, we're trying to get more of the food to them, and that's what this grant is for. And in the last couple of years, it has actually doubled and tripled. So as a result, we're trying to help, and we wish we could have done more. And in that sense, the $2,000 is what we have for you. But thank you for the good work. And on behalf of the mayor and council, we give you that check. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nora's here tonight on behalf of Second Chance. I just wanted to say, Carol, on behalf of Second Chance, it's all collective effort, about 3 years ago came to me, or actually I came to her when I found out about the program. There may be a chance. Councilwoman Francois also serves on Community Foundation along with the mayor, myself, and Councilman Prasad. And they came to this program, and I thought this was really innovative, literally, especially when the economy has gotten really bad a few years back, the idea that people actually would forgo their pets for no other reason, but they simply can't afford the food. Now, obviously, feeding humans still many of us believe is most important, but the food bank does that, and this is in conjunction with them, so it's a natural extension of their efforts. So I commend all of you, and I'm happy that this is the one grant that we've brought to the table and all agreed on for, like 3 years running now. So keep up the good work. We can't promise you for next year, but obviously we're going to help if we can. Thank you. Did you want to say anything about
Real quick, I just wanted to say thank you. This $2,000, we've gotten this now for a couple of years, and it does go a long way to help Second Chance, help those clients of the food bank keep their pets in their home by being able to get food from the food bank. So I want to thank the committee and I want to thank the council for seeing our vision and helping us to realize it.
Ms. Breen, members of Second Chance, appreciate it, what you do for us. Yeah, you can come on up.
Quickly, it's the council.
We,
Thank you so much, guys. Without you guys, it's not going to be happening.
yeah, we run our animal shelter, and Second Chance for Animals is a volunteer organization. They help us out very much. And we're always telling people, the council members, to visit our animal shelter and do what you can there. And I've decided to take some of the advice of my fellow council members. I'm not becoming a Democrat just yet. But what I'm doing is, this past weekend, I adopted and my family a dog from our animal shelter. And I appreciate all the work that you did to do that. It's a lovely little pet, and we'll think about you all the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks. Okay, now we're going along, going along on our agenda. And we're now at item number 6, the mayor's report. And in a little while, in actually just a few moments, we're going to come to our public discussion. That's where you can say anything you want of a general nature. Later on in the meeting, there'll be times to speak on specific ordinances. But in a couple minutes, I'll make it clear this is public discussion. You can say whatever on your mind. I'll give you our policies on time, et cetera, at that point. And today, my mug of the meeting comes from the National Zoo in Washington, D.C., a great place, and that's in honor of Second Chance and the animal shelter and the foundation who gave you hopefully a little bit extra to do things, and my hopefully practicing good dog fatherhood. Our meetings are generally the second and the fourth Tuesdays of the month. In July and August and December, there's only meetings on the second Tuesday. So this is obviously the fourth Tuesday of June. So in the summer, July and August, we'll only have one meeting for each of those months on the second Tuesday. Some recent things going on in town here. I did another one of my Comcast Newsmaker interviews. You could see that in Headline News and others, where I told about the nice successes we have in town that we all work together to put forth for everybody. Flag Day passed. Many of our elementary schools had ceremonies. I was at a few of them. Councilwoman Sherman was at probably a few, at least one, and spoke very eloquently there, of course. Franklin High School graduation was on the 21st. I was there to represent our council. That was a very good event. Hundreds of students, thousands of family, friends, relatives, and it was important to show support for our seniors. That's why I want to take the time. And as happened in the last, I guess, a couple decades now, that evening was Project Graduation, funded totally by the parents, not funded by the Board of Education. It's private funding to put together a night for the kids, so that there's a No bad temptations there. Deputy Mayor Kramer, Councilwoman Sherman were there. I went over there also, became an official chaperone. But that was a fun event, though, too. Also, I represented us June 22nd, last Friday, as a moderator of New Jersey State League of Municipalities, had a seminar on cloud computing. That was fascinating, educational, and way above my pay grade. But I did learn some things there, so that was beneficial for me also. And right before this meeting, at which we sit, was the grand opening of our Franklin Park branch of our library in the southern end of town. Councilman Chase, Councilwoman Sherman, I keep mentioning her, she gets around a lot, were there for ribbon cutting. It was a lot of people putting that together for many years to service people in the southern end of town. They've got a lot of expansion room, too. It's on the corner of South Middlebush and Route 27. There's a Stein Mart, an ice cream place, a gym there. So you know which mall that's at. And this Friday, as we speak, and maybe in the past as you're watching this, will be our Franklin fireworks. We generally have it the Friday before the 4th of July. That's pretty much a dollars and cents decision. It's just simply a lot less costly to do it then, but Friday's a good day to do it. All the money this year, again, was raised privately. The town didn't have to put in any money. We were also able to put that together through the generous volunteer work of our police officers and police department. That is very much appreciated. So if it should be rained out, keep your eye on our website. I guess, well, we would have it there, wouldn't we? I would try and post things on my mayor Facebook or Twitter, get word out like that too. The website's your first line of defense on things like this. So have a worthwhile, I want to say happy Independence Day, but a worthwhile one too, remembering what it was a couple hundred years ago, and it was 200 years ago. This year, we started the War of 1812, from which our Star-Spangled Banner was born. So that's another point of interest for Independence Day. And that concludes the mayor's report. So now we have Deputy Mayor's report. Deputy Mayor Bill Kramer.
I'd like to congratulate Second Chance for Animals and thank them for all they do. Clearly, I'm a strong supporter of them. And I'm going to cut it short at that because we have a huge agenda in front of us.
Okay, thank you. Now we're at public discussion. This is going to be the only time at which you can speak of something of a general nature, and I'm very glad to hear what's on your mind. Later on, there'll be a couple times to speak, but, pardon me, those only be on specific ordinances. This is the only time to speak of things of a general nature. So as is our policy, we allow people to come up one time per meeting, 5 minutes per person. There's no yielding of time, just your 5 minutes. There's a timer, so when you hear a tone goes off, that means 3 minutes has elapsed. And when you hear multiple tones, then your last 2 minutes is done. That's your 5 minutes, and I'll have to ask you to wrap up your thoughts. Please direct all of your comments to the council, and if any of us can answer within that time, we will do that. So is there a motion to open the meeting for public discussion?
So moved.
A second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on any item of interest to the public. Anyone who's interested in speaking, please raise your hand. Come to the microphone. Give us your name and address, please. President Hepper, if I pronounce it right. And please note, we are being audio and video recorded. It's being broadcast on our cable access channel. And when you come up, if you keep yourself 3 or 4 inches from the microphone, we can hear clearly, and the audio picks you up properly, too.
Very good.
Yes.
Can I go ahead and start?
Yes, please.
Very good. Okay, Mayor Levine and councilmen and women, good to see you again. Thank you for having me. My name, as you mentioned, is Paul Hepper. I am the president of East Millstone First Aid Squad, and I'm here tonight to present a very brief synopsis, update on our efforts to build a new building for our squad. Let me begin by thanking the council for all of the help that you guys have provided to us, all the support over the past year, especially while we've been recovering from the deprecations of Hurricane Irene. Yes, I can. Floyd is still a long time ago, and we were flooded by them too. So okay. But your help has been great in our search for new land, in searching for funding, and just in your general interest. So thank you guys for that. Okay. As you're aware, yes, we were flooded out by the hurricane last year, and we've been sitting in a small, dilapidated building. It's in very much need of being replaced. We've been on that hunt for the last 9 months. Basically, we need land, building, and a means to pay for it. Land, that's the furthest along. We have been in contact with Somerset County officials, and they have tacitly agreed, as you know, to an open space land swap so that we might be able to acquire the parcel of land that is just east of the Millstone Valley Firehouse. And we're very much looking forward to that going forward, because that would be a very useful, very central property for us, not very far from where we are currently located. Second is building. This is one of the big areas where we're doing a whole lot of homework. We are currently visiting other squads to see their facilities and find out what they are doing. We've certainly been consulting various building vendors to find out what kind of prefab structures we can put up for a reasonable cost. And we've done a needs analysis to see what kind of things we need to have as we have them in our current building and the things we need to improve on. Our current building is, as you're aware, an ancient coal bin from back of the turn of last century, and we are grandfathered in for various sorts of things we will have to take care of in our new building, such as exhaust control and so on. We don't have to have that in our current building. So we are looking into that in all sorts of ways. We have a whole committee that's investigating that. Finally, it's funding. That's another area where we are pursuing a lot of options. We definitely want to be financially prudent. We are speaking to a number of different banks, spoken to 5 so far, regarding traditional mortgages. We've presented our last 3 years of our financial data to them, and they've already given us some basic figures as to what a mortgage would look like for a building. But we're investigating alternative forms of funding, various sorts of fundraising schemes, including we're already in the process of applying for grants, state and federal grants of varying sorts. As a small volunteer squad, we subsist entirely, or almost overwhelmingly, on donations. So we are being quite diligent in trying to create a new home for ourselves, something that's both functional and fiscally very prudent. So I just want to wrap up by saying that we will present a fuller picture of this with a complete slide presentation and everything at your next council meeting in 2 weeks, July 10th. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Yes, Mr. Tibbs.
Council people, Mayor, Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside Street. Phil's wondering what I'm going to say now, Phil. Just a couple items. One, I came here last year and explained to you the sadness of the cutting down of all the trees in Naaman Williams Park. And I guess you kind of agree how devastating that was to have no shade completely in a complete park. It's kind of sad. We thrashed over it, and the Public Works Department had agreed that they would put in 4 more trees. I think that's what we all agree with, this past fall. Well, I'm to inform you they didn't put the trees in, and there has been no plans or anything about putting the trees in. And I spoke to one of the foremen, and he did say they don't know what happened. They say sitting on the money. I don't know who's sitting on the money or whomever. But anyway, the trees didn't get put in. So I'm expressing to you guys, please, whomever is in charge of putting in the trees, to have those trees put in. I asked you, as the last time they agreed they would do it, they didn't do it yet, as of yet. Another thing, I want to thank, this one little item I'm thankful for. There's been a sign put up on the corner of Pershing Avenue and Victor Street, which I've been wanting to have done for years. I asked them had it put up, and they put it up, and it saved some people's lives because fortunately nobody's been killed at that corner yet. There's no stop sign on the cross street there. There is one now. The last time I came here, I was talking about a resolution you had in there. I think it was 12229. It was back in May, when you had the last council meeting. And I was trying to determine if the Clean Communities grant you guys got for $93,000, if there was any way possible that you guys could use some of that money to, even though it's Clean Communities, I am to understand it's part of the energy program that you guys have in the township. If there's any way possible that you could use some of that money for the kids, for the work program during the summer months of July and August. And I heard no response from it yet. I had a nice conversation with the mayor, a matter of fact, and he thought about it. It could be a good idea if it could be worked out. So if that's at all possible, we hopefully that something can happen for the kids to be able to have a job during the summer before everything gets blue. I think it's going to be a hot summer this summer, and we're trying to disengage it before it gets engaged. I appreciate if I had some kind of concerns of where we can find some money for the kids during the summer for a little work program. I don't know where it comes from. It might even come from the block grant programs that you have down in that area, if at all possible. And the last but not least, it was reported to the Human Relations Council last night. We had a nice meeting last night that they was appalled by the fact that all of the kids in the Parkside area that was born and raised there, they're proud that they have a pool that they can swim in during the summer. But it's appalling that none of the kids, 30 or 40 kids, cannot swim in those pools. They have not been able to swim in the pool, and they cannot swim in the pool in their own backyard, in their own living room, because of the fact they cannot join the summer program because of a fee of $300 per child. Now, I guess you guys know we don't have that kind of money for any of our children to swim in the pool in Parkside, and it's appalling that that kind of a money be asked for a small minority child to swim in his own pool. So I'm hoping that somehow, some way, that we can have the kids in Parkside be able to enjoy their own pool at no cost, if at all possible. And also some way to have the arrangement of the bathroom there beside the park to be open during the summer. It's nice to have bathrooms, but it's kind of dumb for not to be able to use them for the whole year. So if those pools can be opened, if somewhere some kind of arrangement be made, even I'll take care of it. If it's right next to the senior citizen place, one of the bathrooms, that the bathrooms can be open for the summer. Some kind of arrangement with the recreation department, whomever is in charge. I'd appreciate very much if those are the concerns for the area down that part. I'm hopefully that something can be worked out before for our own citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tibbs.
I have a question for Mr. Tibbs.
Councilman Prasad? Oh, Mr. Tibbs? I think Councilman Prasad wanted to ask a question of you.
How many children are you talking about?
All of them in the area, anywhere from 30 to 50 kids,
Okay.
are not able to get in the program.
No, because, my kids grew up here, and they spent their entire summer at the pool.
Yes, sir.
And it was a recreation sponsored program. And even senior adults, my own mother came from India, and she was able to participate in learning how to swim.
Yes, sir.
And it wasn't that expensive. So I don't know how we made it $300 for 6 weeks. That is unacceptable. We have to do something about it. But if it's 30, 50 kids, I'm sure we will figure out some way of keeping them actively occupied, and hopefully the next Mark Spitz or Michael Phelps will come out of Franklin.
Thank you
So,
very much.
I
appreciate it.
But let's
We all would.
bring that up,
Mr. Mayor, I want to say something about that.
yeah, please.
Finish?
The pool.
Councilwoman Francois?
It's
Please.
ironic you brought up the pool, because I had asked the township staff last week about the pool. And I discovered that the pool is not open. It's only open during 9 to 5, during a summer program that starts June and it's over the first week of
No,
August.
this started July.
Or July, okay, first week of July. And so my response back to the manager and Alice and the staff, and Donna just handed me a document that I'd asked for some figures, some cost figures, because my response back to that was, I thought it was a travesty. We have a pool sitting there, it's not open in the evening,
Just told
it's
me.
not open on the weekend, it's only open for a select group of kids that can afford a program, and that's an asset we have here in the township. And I just basically said, this is a travesty, this should not be.
Absolutely.
And
That's what I
so,
just explained to the council.
I didn't hear your presentation,
Yeah.
but I was going to actually bring that up as part of my council comments. I didn't know that Donna was going to have, the assistant manager was going to have figures for me tonight. But the whole essence of what we're talking about is coming up with some money to pay for a lifeguard and for some staff to assist in running the pool, basically. That's what we're talking about, because the pool's sitting there, it's sitting there. We've already paid for the pool.
Right.
And so the figures that I've been given, we're looking at about $95 an hour times 8 hours, which is $760 a day. So if we wanted to run that pool for, if it's just on the weekend and not do it even in the evenings, but Saturday and Sunday, we may be looking at approximately $1,500 a week. And if we did that from July till the middle of August, if somebody here, our accountant or mayor is an accountant, you probably could do the math. It's about $12,000. Yeah, so we're not talking about a whole lot, $10,000 to $15,000.
That's-
We're not talking about a whole lot of money.
No, I know. But that's for keeping the pool open for the summer for the kids. Is that what we're talking about? That's what the
No,
kids-
just on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday.
Just
Now,
on
if we
Saturday.
wanted to do it every day, which, probably wouldn't do it every day, but if we wanted to do it every day for 7 weeks, it would cost $37,240. So somewhere between $10,000 and $37,000, we ought to figure out a way where we can do something to keep that pool open. It is a travesty to
Yes, I
have
just
that pool
explained to
closed.
council.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
Right.
So I'm on top of that because I asked the question and I wasn't really aware that the pool was closed on the
Yes,
weekends,
but the main
in the
part-
evenings.
I thank you very much, Councilor Francois. And the main reason why I explained to the council that there's 30 to 50 kids that can't use the pool because of the $300 fee. Kimberly,
Sorry, I distracted.
I'm sorry. There's a $300 fee for each kid that want to use the pool. And I was explaining to the council
Yeah.
that we don't have no $300 per
Right.
kid, to get in the pool. But if there's some way, what they really should have there is the pool open during the summer for all the kids that live in the area. That's where it should be, the community pool.
It should be,
You know what I
the
mean?
pool, it's a township asset, so anybody in the township that
Yeah,
wants to
you know.
use the pool should be, I want to go over there and get in the pool
We
myself.
do too.
So it's not
know,
just
but-
about the kids, but clearly we want to do this for our young people. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. No problem
And
about it.
so this is something we need to work out. Thank you for bringing it to our.
Well, yes, and I don't know what to say. What shall I say? I mean, it's further for. Is it possible? I mean, is it going to happen? Or what did I tell the kids when I go back? Or?
We have to make sure we can pull some money out of the budget. I can't speak on and say yes or no. The manager's not here, but we will look into it for sure and move on this as quickly as possible because summer will be over if we take too long to make a decision.
Yes, and
Thank you,
yeah,
Mr. Tibbs.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Councilman
Yes.
Chase and Councilman Prasad.
I, heard from Mr. Tibbs about this yesterday, and I agree with what Councilman Francois has said, and the only thing I'd add is if we could look into having, I understand the pool is used by this organized camp program 9 to 5, if we could look into having it open for kids in the neighborhood 5 to 7, the 5 days a week, as well, which is really just extending the day of lifeguards, as well as on the weekend, and possibly we can make it up by having, in part, by having fewer, not all day on the weekend. But in general, we've got to make this work, and I would hope that in the future, we can work this into the budget. I know it's been a problem in the past when we were on a fiscal year budget, and so it had sort of, July and August had already happened when we got down to the budget, and it was always a question, should we pay budget retroactively for this. But now with a calendar year budget in the future, we should be able to budget something of this sort, and I hope we can find a way in the present budget to do this year.
Councilman Chase, that's a wonderful idea. If that was even happen, I thought about that too. Between 5 and 7, and for all the rest of the kids, I think that would be a great start if that could even happen, sir. I thank you.
1 minute.
Okay, Councilman Prasad?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the $95 an hour for a lifeguard. Huh? There's 3 lifeguards?
That's for 3 lifeguards and 1 police officer.
Wow.
So we can talk about the
Okay.
specifics. We don't need to go, we're
Yeah,
not going
this
to
is-
decide
Really
this
not gonna solve
tonight.
it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We want to solve it.
Right,
Maybe by next meeting, we'll have a recommendation.
by next
Thank you,
meeting.
Mr. Tibbs, for bringing it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Tibbs. As a general point, that, it's very good. Those are the people in town we should be helping out the most. So, and Councilwoman Francois, thanks too. As always, bring that for us. Other people in the public who wish to speak? Anyone else?
Seeing,
Ms. Saba?
oh, okay. I thought she did. Yes.
We don't have any rest, it seems. As soon as we think that something is working, something else is coming up. This issue of pool, I just walked in. I can't believe that the public pool,
We need your
has-
name and address.
sorry,
Oh, pardon me.
Manije Sabah, 146 Emerson. Sorry, I apologize. I was just jumping out of my seat hearing that the public pool they charge money for people to get into the public pool. I don't know how we are processing. But anyway, another issue that have been really disturbing, and I know that Councilman Vasanella and Mayor Levine have been somehow involved in this, but you know, for months I've been talking about the foreclosure, and we had 1 foreclosure last week. It should be unacceptable. I was surprised that nobody from the township was there to support this family. This family has gone, as you know, I don't know how many of you know, this family has bought this house in 2008 after the house was foreclosed from the same company, but from the same authority and agency that is collecting taxpayers' money for their efforts. I have talked with them months ago, and it's unconscionable the way they don't deal with foreclosed people, they deal with shareholders and everybody else, like the banks do, and our government has been absent all along, but they don't even respond properly to the public. They have responses all the time, and this family lost their home. Does anybody know where they are? Has the township accommodated somehow, found a place for them? We have been talking about this for long, and we have had, as you know, 600 foreclosures in 3 years in this town. I don't know what else to say. I'm really upset and angry and frustrated with this whole thing and process. I don't know if we would have this resolution if I was not here last week and being upset again over it. Because the session before, it was rejected. I hope the township start thinking seriously about this problem in this township. Are we trying to get rid of the people by closing our eyes, thinking, these are not our problem, these are people whose problem is not our problem, they can go away, and we can have our pool to people who can afford it. This should not happen. This is a better place than this type of thing had happened in it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Suarez?
Hi, Roger Suarez, 10 Landing Lane. A neighbor of y'all. Councilman and Mayor, I wanted to talk about what Menage had brought up, which was the Solis family case. I had spoken to the mayor and Councilman Vasanella at length about that particular issue. I'm not going to reiterate every fact about the case, but I just want to update people on what happened. On Thursday morning at about 5:55 a.m., I got a call from a mayor of the Solis, neighbor of the Solises on North Lawrence Avenue, that the sheriff's officers were there. We were expecting them at about 9 o'clock. I'm a member of a group that is interested in the issue and had mobilized people around the crisis, around the problem, and had also been speaking to various authorities, both on the local and state level, about it. So many neighbors and members of the community were prepared to stand with the Solises at 9 o'clock, but we got sort of outfoxed by the sheriff's officers. I was there. I don't live far away, so I was there as soon as I could be, and I found myself, eye to eye and staring down with, a man from the sheriff's office who had nothing in terms of bargaining capacity whatsoever except the pepper spray around his waist, which he had his hands on the whole time as he stared me down. And what I witnessed was very problematic and very disturbing, and I bring this up not because I think that the town council doesn't care, or that the town council can't eventually be a part of the solution. I'm not sure how other people think, but I like reading the language of this resolution. I think that it's a good step in the right direction. I hope that it does get passed. I think the acknowledgement that the financial crisis that is affecting our communities has been caused by malfeasance, in the larger mortgage industry is a huge step and should be commended. But I want to remind the council that there's a physical reality and a devastating blow just to general morale when you talk about evicting a family and pulling a family, in this case an immigrant working family, and you have to sort of jump outside yourself sometime and enter another person's perspective. And the criticism against immigrants in the past couple of years, especially from the extreme right, has been one attacking them for a supposed lack of loyalty, a supposed lack of Americanness. But, putting down money on a 20-year mortgage could be no more symbolically American than anything else. It's a gesture towards a commitment and an investment towards a community. So to rip people out of their homes like that is a problem, and it's a problem that has many different actors, and I don't pretend to be naive to the complexity of it, even though I take a particularly strong stand about it. And I just wanted to let you know there's something terrifying about what happens when this problem isn't adequately addressed, either by the community, either between the agents, the lending agency, and the family. It comes down to a very inhumane situation. And even though I live in New Brunswick now, I've lived in Franklin before, I have a lot of friends and family in the township, I don't consider this a bad place whatsoever. I don't consider it a place where evil is just allowed to rampage without any sort of community response to it. So I consider this resolution to be a good beginning of a community response. I really, really implore you to pass it. I really hope that the community and the town council and the mayor's office can work together in the future. I offered to Councilman Vasanella and to Mayor Levine the opportunity to ride around. I can show you exactly where the foreclosures and abandoned properties are because I've mapped it out, and I've been door to door, and I've talked to people in their living rooms about what they're going through. The Associated Press is interested in doing that with us. El Diario covered the actual eviction itself, and there's 600 more, and there's 100,000 more on the way in the state. And right now, the way it is that the armed apparatus of the larger state can now come down on citizens for falling on hard times with their mortgages, and unless there's some kind of way for more cooler heads to intervene, that's going to keep happening, and my intent is not to slander any particular locality because it's a larger national crisis, but to focus in on what's going on here in Somerset, in Franklin Township, and say that it's emblematic of a larger problem and that we could really be working together, you know, do something very significant. So please pass this resolution, and let's please, you know, remain in contact. The Solises are staying with friends for the time being. If there's anything we can talk about further, I hope that you continue those communications, Councilman Vasanella and Mayor Levine and anyone else who wants to talk about this. This is a very serious problem in Franklin. Please take it seriously.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Other members of the public who haven't spoke would like to speak?
See no one come forward, Mayor, I motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. We now come to item number 9. Ms. Vieira, no unanswered items for you, is there? I don't think so.
No, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. So I guess we'll go to council comments, and at that point, council can give their board, commission, and committee reports, of which they are liaison or any other. I guess we'll start here. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Mr. Tibbs pointed out, last night we had the first taping of a committee meeting by our TV committee, and the Human Relations Commission taping will probably be put up by Friday, and I welcome all of you to watch it. I think it was a great meeting, and we all participated, and you'll learn something about what the Human Relations Commission does. Just to comment on the health educators report, but we haven't seen anything on the health inspectors. I'd like to ask the manager or assistant manager to get us some statistics as to, and I pointed that out last time, that we are constantly getting reports, but we are not getting a ability to drill down, number one. Number two, we're paying for 5 inspectors, but we've never had a full force of inspectors. So kindly provide us that report and data so that we can make sure we're getting our money's worth from the health inspection effort.
After our last admin meeting, we reached out to Mr. Stahl, who is the department director of the health department, and he is working on that. We hope to have something not by the end of next week, but by the following week. So we'll have it before the next admin meeting is our intention.
Okay, great. Thank you. As the mayor said, we have our fireworks coming up. It took a lot of effort, and I want to again thank our police for their generosity, donations, and also their time, and also our firemen who are also going to be making it a success. The rain date is the following Friday, the 6th of June. So please do turn out. We will have a festivity starting at about 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock is the fireworks, and it's always a great show. So, and I've already talked about the Naaman Williams Park pool. We'll find a solution, Mr. Tibbs. The East Millstone Rescue Squad was also discussed with the Human Relations Commission, as one of our commissioners happens to be a volunteer there, and she brought it up, and the active adult community that is served by them would be glad to help raise some funds for the buildings, etc. So they have a vested interest in it and would like to help do that. There is a Jain temple opening that'll be happening from the 29th. It's a week-long celebration till about the 8th of July, and so they're good corporate citizens and have complied with everything that they've been asked to do. So it should be a good event and a welcome addition to Franklin. I agree with Ms. Saba and Mr. Suarez. We will support the resolution. Unfortunately, we bailed out the lenders and not the borrowers, and that was a misguided effort. But, again, they were too big to fail, so they got the squeaky wheel. But I think something had to be done for the borrowers, and somehow we have to find a solution, otherwise the whole housing industry is going to stay in a slump till that whole backlog is cleared. So with that, I wish everybody a happy Independence Day and a good, safe summer. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the next one is Councilman Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad, Mr. Chase. I saw that we were supposed to report from boards and commissions for which were liaisons. So the Environmental Commission, I might say, reviewed a site plan for a non-digital billboard at the Rotoclip site on the south side of 287. So that'll be coming forward to either to the planning board, whenever we have enough business at the planning board to have a meeting. The Commission reviewed the goals and objectives for 2012 and the progress toward them. Plans for the irrigation system at the community garden in Naaman Williams Park have been received. We're pushing ahead to get these installed by the end of the CDBG grant at the end of August. Paul Walitsky, who's the lighting expert on the Environmental Commission, suggests replacing the present exit signs in the municipal building with light-emitting diode signs, which are, he says, they're $16 on the internet. With the kind of pricing arrangements we have, we could probably get them cheaper than that, but they pay for themselves in electricity saved within 6 months, he says. This Environmental Commission meeting was videotaped and will appear on Channel 29 sometime in July. The Open Space Committee heard Wayne McCabe's report, which the council will be hearing shortly. The committee endorsed spending on the emergency items. Our new consultant, Fran Varacalli, has been talking to Green Acres about the Dunn and Gunther houses. Green Acres thinks that if they were subdivided from the open space, we might be able to remove them from the recreation inventory more simply than the full Green Acres diversion process, which is very expensive and time-consuming. The committee applauded this and suggested pursuing this process also for the Kingston School. Yesterday, I attended the Central Jersey Transportation Forum meeting. Of course, most of that has to do with Route 1 and Mercer County, but I did hear that the design for the replacement bridge on Route 27 over 6 Mile Run is complete. The DEP review, I think, is complete. They still have to get approval from Green Acres. They expect to start work next spring. I suppose this will mean that traffic on Route 27 will be even worse than it now is, but I thought I would give people an early warning of that. I've already spoken on the Naaman Williams Park pool issue. We really have got to do something to make that more available to the neighborhood. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rosalind Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to let everyone know that our seniors are doing a wonderful thing. They have, for years, been providing backpacks for area drives for school children. They've provided the backpacks, the school supplies that go into them, and have recently become aware of the fact that these backpacks are not focused on Franklin Township children. They are part of organizations that service Middlesex County as well. Not that some of them don't come here, but all of them do not come here. So they have decided to do their own backpack drive. And 100% of those backpacks are going to go to Franklin Township children. One of their board members has a son who has a business who has contributed 254 backpacks. So they are thrilled that now they have to fill them. So they need lots and lots of school supplies. So I ask that anyone who has the opportunity and the inclination to please bring any school supplies that you possibly can. They're at the senior center. You can ask who to leave them with and help them to fill those backpacks for our children. And kudos to Rachel Baker Blackwell from our Social Services Division, who is helping them identify children in need. So we're going to make sure there's not one child. I don't know if 254 is quite enough, but we're certainly going to take care of a whole bunch of them who can't afford their own school supplies. I also had the great pleasure of being asked to come to the McAfee School, and I spoke to the fourth graders, pardon me, on Flag Day. And I don't know who had it. Well, I know I had a better time than they did because some of them were yawning. I mean, they tried their best to pay attention. But, the teacher had them write me letters, and it was so cute. It was just adorable. The questions that they had and the comments that they made, it was worth it. It was really, really a thrill. July 4th event on Friday, June 29th. As always, I will be running a voter registration drive at that event. We have a number of volunteers. We'll be soliciting people as they walk in. We have people walking around in the crowd asking them if they've registered and making sure that they are registered. We'll have forms in English and Spanish, and it's important if you are not registered, stop by and see us, and if you need forms for the family, we'll give them to you to take home. At that event, it's going to be a busy time for me. The Cultural Arts Committee is sponsoring the entertainment. We have a couple of acts that are going to be done on the stage. The Villagers Theater is going to be there, another group called Reunited. So we have about 2 hours worth of entertainment for everybody, along with having gotten some crafting tables for the crowd to give you something to keep you busy. And we'll be handing out some information about the Cultural Arts Council for folks who would like to join us. So there's lots and lots going on. And the other really important project, we're working with the county on a project that's still being formed, but one of the major issues, it's a way to buy equipment in a method similar to one that we've done already, but on a much more massive scale that will make buildings more energy efficient throughout the county. But based on the economic situation, most of us can't afford to buy all the equipment that we would like to. So this program is one we've put in place already on a smaller scale, where you pay for all of the equipment by the savings that you generate from the energy savings, and it's paid for by loans and bonds that are, in this case, hopefully going to be guaranteed by our freeholders for all of the Somerset County communities. And we did have a meeting with our township engineer, someone from the County Energy Commission, and someone from the schools. So that represents a very large percentage of the buildings that will be benefiting from this. It's just getting started, but I just thought you'd be interested in knowing what programs we are working on and something that will be very beneficial. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman James Vassanella.
Sorry. Thank you. Community Foundation, so some of the results of their work tonight with the second chance. And like mentioned earlier, there are very limited funds, but if another organization believes they have a really important community need that really doesn't have many, if any, other options, there are a few times a year we can dole out small amounts. You can contact the clerk, and she'll direct you the right way with that. As far as my work with the ELS committee, most of and Councilman Regan is also on that committee with myself. most of the work involved with them is related to East Millstone Squad right now. The original plan, they were optimistic they were going to be able to come in and do their PowerPoint presentation with giving real details and some numbers and drawings. But it was decided as a consensus among their group spearheading this effort for the new building to wait till July 10th. But thank you to Paul. He wanted to come in and just make sure council knew that where things were at and that they're getting ready to drop their ideas and probably some requests upon council. As far as the flood commission that I'm on with Councilman Chase, one of the main things we're doing right now, there's unfortunately solutions that are going to take long time to put into play, but one of the things I'm doing is working with a past councilman and mayor, John Clyde, on the legislative committee, which basically is to start putting a lot of pressure on our, not just our congressman here in Franklin, but a few others that surround the the Millstone Raritan Basin. And really, that's what it's about. It's that's kind of things you probably see in the news where Congress people are fighting and clawing to get money for their district. Well, we're going to be fighting and clawing to push them to get money for that. But you'll get updates from Councilman Chase or myself as that proceeds. As far as the foreclosure situation, without going over everything that was already said, it is an issue. I was kind of tracking because I get into numbers and statistics. Franklin, to no fault of any particular person or situation, just for Somerset County, at least what I had read, they're well beyond the averages in any other Somerset County town. All that means is we got to work harder as a citizenry, and the little, and I say little because we don't have much jurisdiction, the little we can do as a governing body. And for what it's worth, I'm going to say I think everybody was a little blindsided how it played out, but what did played out peacefully from what I understand. I know the mayor raced over from some appointment. I threw my son in the car. We ended up getting there after I think you had already gone to Trenton, just to observe without taking sides specifically. The side I think we're all taking up here is if there's anything that can be done in lieu of an eviction, we should do it. Without getting into the debate now, it's going to come up later in the evening. There are times, a good example is the situation we have in the southern part of the township on Georgetown Road, where for whatever reasons, there are times that foreclosure and eviction are necessary, but obviously we can try everything we can to avoid that. I believe that's it. I do want to mention, though, as I am the liaison to the Cable Committee, there's two issues relative. One that I'm happy to report on, as Councilman Prasad mentioned earlier, a couple years ago, I think the board was a little bit, I'm going to say, cautious in reigniting this volunteer videographer program we had into play about 5 or 6 years ago. Matter of fact, Councilman Kramer and Councilman Wright and myself, I think when we were civilians, worked to help get that program going. But the idea has always been, at least for some of us, to have council, the township station, to broadcast various meetings. I think it was first presented about 7 years ago, where every month a different group, one of these, the Environmental Commission, Human Resources Commission, ELS, whatever, would be taped and shown to the public. So besides the planning board, zoning board, and council, which are the three most important bodies, but all those other groups do some really important work. So I applaud that we finally got to that point, and I think you'll start seeing those broadcasts. Thank you very much to the volunteers on that committee that made that happen.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Brian Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just a couple of comments on some of the items discussed tonight. Naturally, with the pool, we'll have to go back and look. Clearly, the answer, unfortunately, in government, municipal government, I've learned is the answer is never simple. There's always some complexity according to statutory, rules regarding fund transfers and this, that, and the other thing. So I can only tell you that's the harsh reality of it. I wish at times I was Gandalf and I could wave a wand and fix things, but unfortunately, and probably good that I don't have that power. Relative to the mayor's new addition to his family, I want to congratulate him. I do want to say, though, you have some catching up to do, because Councilman Kramer has two. And I believe no one comes near me with 4. 3 of my own, and my daughter just moved in, and she has her. So we have a house of 4 dogs.
Assistant
said,
Manager, isn't there a limit to the number of dogs?
There is. It's, I believe it's 6.
It's 3.
Yeah.
It's 3.
Is? Well, no, it's not 3. I know it's not 3. So I think it's 6 or 8.
I move.
You're allowed. There's some limit. I'm not over it yet. So, so a year ago, or 2 years ago, I had 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a wife. And then a year ago, at home, the 2 kids were gone. There was just 2 dogs and a wife, and now 2 kids, 4 dogs, and still have a wife. So that's a good thing. So, okay, relative to, the foreclosures, given the revisions to the resolution, I'll be supporting that tonight. It is very difficult, and I can only say it's, as painful for us to sit up here to listen to that, because again, as a municipality, government body, we do not have the ability, the authority to stop that. We just don't. It's the harsh reality of it. Just as I'm sure as the sheriff's officers who showed up to do the job that they have to do, we're not happy about doing that job, but that's what they have to do. We would lose a lot if the sheriffs only showed up based upon, major vote of, yeah, we want them to show up, but we don't. Because a lot of us would be in trouble based upon, leave it to the majority of the public on what the sheriffs do or don't do. Unfortunately, they have, a difficult job to do in that situation. And I'm sure when they go through it, there are those who have had family members or friends that they know were also evicted. So it's just a terrible thing to do. I agree that it shouldn't happen in Franklin, but just because I or any other councilperson agree that it shouldn't happen, again, that's not going to change it. But it doesn't, again, I wouldn't want anybody to think that just because we can't act on something, that we don't care. That would be a very harsh judgment and a criticism to make that step. Obviously, I can't stop people from thinking like that, but I can assure you that's not true in my heart, and I don't believe it's true in any of the council people that are sitting up here. Okay, and finally, I just want, actually, let me swing just briefly on, since it's also a committee report, just briefly, the public safety, I mentioned this at the last time, all council members, in your packet next week is going to be a report from the chief on the regionalizing police report. It's going to be his recommendation. There are clearly, many, it's a very important document to read, because on July 10th, we will be taking a vote either to support the chief's recommendation or not to support it as a council. Whether that's in a resolution form or not, I don't know, and I don't think it's really important, but there will be a vote on July 10th, because this has to be done by August 1st, and since we're not meeting a second time in August, we'll end up doing that. I personally have read it, and, I've been involved in understanding the chief's assessment, and I fully support the position that he's taking in the report. Having said that, I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. I do plan on being at the June 27th firework.
29th.
June 29th. 29th. I just said that to see if there was anybody listening, because sometimes we don't listen to each other. So but it's clear that they're listening. It's because my captivating, style here. So June 29th, Friday, 4th of July, and looking forward to seeing those who attend. And it's always been a good time, and I expect it will be a grand time on Friday night. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
As it's been said, the pool is a concern, Mr. Tibbs and everyone else that's out there watching. And government is very well known to be quite bureaucratic. But we will act as swiftly and quickly as possible to make the right decision for our township. So we'll definitely get on that and move on that. Also, I wanted to make a comment to Mrs. Saba about her resolution. I know she was upset because she had presented this to this governing body a while ago, and for some reason we didn't support her. But clearly, in support of what she's done to try to raise the awareness, this foreclosure issue is a national issue, and the president has done what he can to assist it. And we here in Franklin Township are not advocates of foreclosures because that's how we get our money. That's how we make our money, bring income into the municipal budget through our ratables. So clearly I'm in support of that. I don't think there's anyone here that doesn't know someone personally who has been evicted through a foreclosure, the sheriff showing up at their door, be it a personal person that they know, a friend or a family member, and it is a huge, huge impact and crises. And, we're all very sensitive to that. So I wanted to make that point. And I'd also like to congratulate the Boys Council from the Franklin Youth Initiative for the graduation, the Girls Circle of the Franklin Youth Initiative, and also say congratulations to all the graduates out there, the kindergarten graduates, the elementary school graduates, the middle school graduates, and our Franklin High School graduates. We had a graduation on Thursday. I know the mayor was there because my neighbors told me.
Uh-oh. Got reported on.
Yes. So congratulations to all the graduates out there. We're all very proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself. And it's a major milestone, and keep up the good work. And I hope to see you all at the fireworks on Friday, June 29th. And if it rains, it will be the following Friday, which is July 6th, our rain date. Happy 4th of July. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Phil Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. It's actually a very meaningful holiday that we tend to neglect as just fireworks, but it is really the birth of our nation and the birth of an idea around the world of a different kind of government, a government that derives its power from the people. That's an American invention that we have exported to the world, and we should be very proud of it. And then again, in the interest of time, since we have a long agenda, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And for my comments, it was kind of mentioned before, and I'll reiterate again, Mr. Tibbs, about the pool and helping the vulnerable, reaching out to those who we can. And you said quickly, and it's a concept worth thinking of also, when you mentioned about jobs for kids in the summer. It's something we should do, keep them having something to do, keep them active, give them good skills, something we should look at. This year might be a little late, we'll see, but certainly for next year, got to keep that in the forefront of our mind. And also, Mr. Suarez, Ms. Saba, the concept you have on people and the sad situation they're in, and as was mentioned, all of us, unfortunately, probably know people in that situation. Something about which we have to think and wonder why certain banks got seven-figure bailouts and individuals, and there are people losing their homes. And yeah, like Councilman Vasanella said, wasn't able to be there early, did show up, but that was after all was said and done. So thanks for your thoughts and efforts. And that concludes my comments. So now we come to item number 10. And once more, the agendas are over here by Clerk, Ms. McCarthy, along with associated resolutions, ordinances. They're usually on our website the weekend before, so you can always look up, see what's going to happen, follow it, pull up the entire resolution or ordinance, and follow along. So the first, we have 8 council discussion items. The first is Business Government Insurance Agency, BGIA, their annual presentation. They are our insurance people. See, Mr. Mignon, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Edwards, please. Wherever you want to be is fine. I'm easy. Yeah, just so if each of you is going to speak, right, to pass around the microphone so we can hear you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and Administration, for having us here this evening. I am passing along a one-page summary of the efforts that we put forth this year specific to financial savings to you. In addition to these, and we'll go over these in just a moment, we do our regular servicing of your account with the help of adjudication of claims. We help in facilitating the relationship between the insurance providers and administration, and we organize the health fair each year for you folks, and a variety of other things, one of which we're going to talk about, Steve Edwards will talk about in just a moment, which is our wellness that we're looking to implement here. But let me first just draw your attention to this one-page sheet that I handed out and tell you that we were tasked this year to have your renewals fall on a calendar year and switch them from a fiscal year to a calendar year. And so your medical insurance carrier is Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield. And for a 6-month renewal, they came in with a rate of 6.06%. And that was the increase that they were giving you. And so through negotiations that we had with them and going to the marketplace to secure other competitive quotes, we were able to get that reduced to a 0% increase, and that saved about $143,000. In addition to that, we looked very closely at your prescription drug plan, and Horizon, your medical provider, agreed to reduce your medical rates by another $24,000 if you were to use their prescription drug card plan. And the reasoning is that if they have your prescription drug benefit and your medical benefit, they would be able to better manage the claim process, seeing people with prescriptions and helping them before they have significant medical claims. And so that was another $24,000 savings. And then we also presented to the administration a variety of plan design changes that could reduce the cost anywhere from 15 to 40%. Understanding that you have to get those bargained with your unions, but as the employees have to pay more of the share of health care based on Chapter 78 that was passed just a year ago here in the state of New Jersey, we thought it was appropriate to at least show alternatives that perhaps could be offered alongside of the plans that you've bargained for, and perhaps some of your employees, maybe not this year, but in the future years, will select them to reduce their own cost out of pocket as well. And for the prescription drug program, Benecard was your prescription drug benefit manager and is actually through June 30th of this year. And they came in with an 18.7% renewal. We were able to negotiate that down significantly. However, as I mentioned, Horizon came in with a 9% rate for 18 months. And the reason it's for 18 months is that we want to bring this to a calendar year. And so rather than just do it for 6 months, especially if you go to a new vendor, you don't want to go 6 months and then have to negotiate so quickly. We're able to secure an 18-month rate from Horizon, and that saved about $291,000 from the initial Benecard rate. It was a perfect storm, actually, because we had Benecard wanting to retain your business, Horizon wanting to win your business, and we continued to play one off the other with the help of the administration. And so as a result of that, we were able to save that kind of money. And in addition, Horizon would continue to administer the retiree drug subsidy the way that you are now having it administered, where Benecard would have retained that savings. And so that's another $73,500 savings over Benecard. So that was a significant financial windfall in our negotiation process. And on the dental plans, there were no rate increases, but we were able to extend the Horizon dental plan rates for another full year and a half, actually, to the end of 2013, to keep it on a calendar year basis. It was going to renew sooner than that. And the Cigna plan, we maintained the rates through 2012. They were going to renew on July 1st, and we negotiated a no increase from them to keep this on a calendar year basis. For your group term life and disability plans, last year we were able to negotiate a 2- and 3-year rate guarantee from Hartford, and so that continues to stay in place here. And so those are a fiscal year, but as soon as they renew, we'll renew them to the calendar year. So overall, we were able to, through this specific negotiation process, save about $530,000 for the Township of Franklin. And as I said and mentioned before, in addition to all the other services that we provide, I thought it would be advantageous for you as the council to hear about the specific dollar savings we were able to accomplish this renewal year. Before I hand it over to Steve to go over the wellness, I wondered if anyone had any questions about this financial page.
Councilman Prasad?
No, just a comment that over $500,000 is substantial in this age of escalating insurance costs, especially health insurance costs. So I commend you for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Steve will be speaking about wellness along with Rodney Robinson.
Yeah, I'm not going to take much time up. I know you guys have a full agenda, but in the fall, we would, with the council's blessing and the mayor, like to start working with Donna and the administration to implement a high-impact wellness program. We'd like to help create a wellness committee to kick things off, and then work with your employees to explain to them the discounts that are in place through Horizon on various wellness vendors that are, exist throughout the area. Help motivate employees to fill out their health risk assessments, which is a very useful tool to benchmark somebody's health and to make recommendations on how they can improve their health. We want to work with your employees to help promote their going for an annual exam, which is very critical when you can find out things early on. The doctor can find out things and intervene. So really, this is a win-win situation. The more that we can get your employees to do healthy things like some that I mentioned, you're helping your employees to live longer, healthier lives and more productive lives, and you're driving the township's medical loss ratio down. And to the extent that you can do that, you can secure more competitive quotes out in the marketplace. We're seeing some very positive results in New Brunswick and Middlesex County. Two examples of wellness programs that we've put in place in the last 6 months. We've, in the past 3-4 months, we've gotten about 155 people to fill out their health risk assessments. Past month alone, we've motivated about 60 people, 57, to go for their annual exam. So it's little basic, simple things like that. It may not sound like a lot, but it could really make a difference in a person's life, as it relates to their health and productivity. And it could help the township with respect to your medical loss ratio. We had talked about this, Dr. Kramer and I talked about this about a year ago, and we were ready to implement, but Donna and the administration and a lot of other priorities that needed to be focused on first. But hopefully this fall, priorities as it relates to healthcare, that is. But hopefully this fall we can start. I think the first step is forming the wellness committee, and then discussing what strategies that we want to put in place to reach your employees. So, do you have any questions? Dr. Kramer?
Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Thank you. Yes, I'll put on my doctor hat for this. So my hospital initiated it and actually got me to go to a doctor rather than just walk by someone in the hallway and say, hey, what do I do about this pain here or there? And it's been useful to me. The plan that you're suggesting, will it also offer family members to be involved?
Absolutely. The discounts that I talked about through Horizon are available to family members as well as throughout the state, as well as the employees. The HRA, we want everyone in the family to fill out their HRAs. We want everyone to, go for their annual exam. The challenge for us is going to be how to motivate, how to engage people, because people have been talking about wellness for a very long time. We'll talk to Donna and the committee. We have ideas how we're doing it in Middlesex County and New Brunswick. You have to make it fun. One of the things we're going to look at, which I'm very bullish on, just over the last 90 days. I mean, that's how quick healthcare is changing in this country. Something that's really beginning to take off in the private sector is a concept called gamification. Getting people to go online and making suggestions about all the various healthy things that they could do, from going for their annual exam to walking around the block, dealing with their stress, and letting them earn points and, creating like a competition where people do respond to competition. There are people that, they get their competitive juices going. But I think the point to be made is that we're really going to have to get creative, and next time we come back to the council, we look forward to explaining what exactly we did, and hopefully we'll talk to you about those levels of engagement going up. It's a challenge. You're not going to get 100% of your employees to live perfectly healthy lives, but if you can reach those people that you can reach, whether they're low risk or they're high risk population, you're going to make a difference. It's going to be better than not doing anything.
Yes, nothing motivates like money, and the fact that, while I'm sure many employees didn't like the fact that they were going to be sharing in the cost of their health care plan, now that they're investing some money, that's a tool that can be used. So I commend you. You had brought this to me, as you said, a year or more ago, and I'm glad we're working on it.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, anything else? Oh, Councilwoman Francois?
Actually, my recollection takes me back longer than a year ago. We have been talking about this for a while, Dr. Kramer and Councilman Kramer, Deputy Mayor Kramer. I know we have had a lot of different priorities with the negotiations, with the contracts and things like that, but now that's all behind us, and so we should be able to get something done. So I want to bring this to the attention. I'm looking at my admin subcommittee colleagues, Councilwoman Sherman and Councilman Prasad and Councilman Wright. So we need to keep this on our radar, make sure we keep it on the agenda and keep a focus on this, and make sure we get this on the priority list this year to get it implemented.
We'll contact Donna over the summer, and maybe can meet with you in August perhaps, and then convene the first wellness meeting, hopefully, schedules permitting, maybe as early as September, and get it going. The summers are bad time to
fall would be
launch
good.
these things anyway, because so many people are away.
Yes.
And, we'll look forward to giving you an update whenever you want us to give us one, but certainly by late fall, I hope that we'll be able to have some positive things to report to you. And that'll just be
Absolutely.
a step in the right direction.
And this won't fall off the radar, I promise you. Not this year.
Yep, not for us either.
Okay, thanks. And you've done a great job. You've been our health insurance broker record for many years now, probably almost a decade, it seems. But you've brought a lot of savings to the township. And as the councilman mentioned, in this day and age with healthcare costs rising and with Obamacare that's out there and the changes in the health industry, it's phenomenal that you've been able to save us more than $500,000. And we appreciate all your effort and keep up the good work. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
And Rodney, as you know, is a local resident who works closely with us every step of the way. Rodney will be at the monthly meetings or quarterly meetings, whatever we decide to have with the Wellness Committee, and will help with respect to that initiative. So I just wanted to recognize.
Yeah, and the only one comment I would just add to it is that we saw the fiscal savings that we've been able to experience without a wellness program. With a wellness program, we're able to have very pointed and directed activities towards our claims, and they should not only hopefully good claims experience improve, but be maintained, because we're taking a much more proactive role as opposed to just accepting our claims as they come in.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Yes. Items F and G will take relatively little time, and the items before it can take a fair amount of time. So I was wondering if, in deference to Officer Durham, if we could move those up. So I move to change the agenda to move F and G next.
Seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded to change the agenda so F and G on item 10 are done now. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Okay, so thank you very much. We're going to go to item number F, 10F, Dispatch Staffing Financial Oversight Committee. Did someone want to take that at this point, or Sergeant Durham?
I just wanted to correct myself, Sergeant Durham, not Officer Durham.
Oh, okay. Sergeant Durham, did you want to take that?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I'll
Councilman
just kind
Regan.
of do a brief introduction on the item?
Yeah, please.
And then,
That's right, you were going to do that,
detailed
pardon me.
questions. Yeah.
Okay. Councilman
So,
Regan.
Council, in front of you, you have a memo for 10F that talks about the addition of telecommunications staffing that needs to be done, commonly referred to as dispatchers. We've talked about in the past. So there's an issue that the chief brought to our attention at the public safety, I believe, the last public safety, where he said that currently they are on a trend to spend over $174,000 in overtime this year to address the shortage of our dispatchers. And as the memo again indicates, that part of that overtime, roughly 80,000 is, close to 81,000 is for a police officer, and roughly 93 is for the overtime shared among the various dispatchers as they pick up overtime pay. Right now, we're currently staffed at 9, and in previous years, typically we operate at around 11. So the chief is asking for an increase of 2 positions plus a per diem, and the per diem really is a no-op, like there's nothing additional costs associated with the salary of a per diem. They're paid like 25 an hour, something in that range. There are no benefits or anything else associated with that. But right now, the dispatchers are in a state that when someone takes a personal day or a vacation day, they have to go to overtime. There is no additional staff to pick it up without going to overtime. Naturally, any sick time also incurs overtime. And obviously, the sick time is a little more critical because people don't plan to get sick. So when the sickness happens, it's that morning. The shift commander has to figure out how to cover all that. It causes a lot of disruption in our police force. So basically the memo is suggesting is to add 2 full-time dispatchers, and basically, if we do that for this year, we'll end up spending a little over $62,000 to cover the staff, to cover the salaries, including the benefit package of both of those. I'm sorry, 124, 62 for each, 124 would be for a full-time year. Remember, now we're already at the half-year mark, so we're not, the 124 would be the spent next year. Again, so it really is saving money. The overtime, as I indicated, is huge. It's a huge impact to just the budget, but it's a huge impact to the normal operation of the dispatching unit and team. So again, what the chief is asking for and what the Public Safety Committee and last night what the Finance Oversight Committee is recommending is that we approve the position for these 2 salaries. They will be able to cover due to the fact that the budget, the additional budget in the police current budget will be able to handle the increase for the 62 that's going to be spent this year. So if you have any detailed questions, our sergeant is here. If I was not clear or if I leave other questions to her.
Question, and as was brought up in financial oversight, the savings may not be this year. Maybe in 2013 they'll come through because of the lead time of training, et cetera. Maybe the following year. Councilman Vasanella?
Mayor, just to add, not really a question, but do correct me if I'm not right in my facts. A few years back, we kind of went down, whether it was through attrition, I don't think anybody was actually laid off, perhaps, but we went down to a really bare bones crew in the dispatch. And it was workable, but like these figures shown, and we reviewed this, and that's just a summary. We've been reviewing this for a few meetings now in public safety. But it was very tight, and now it's literally costing more. And I'm going to add one other item I think is a positive here, and not always positive about hirings, but very positive about this one. You have a handful of dispatchers, so I believe lived and worked in this town for a long time, where sooner or later, like everything else, especially in law enforcement, the people will be retiring, sometimes earlier than normal age or average age. And to have those people there, whether in a formal capacity or informal capacity, to train these people and familiarize them with the little quirks and everything good, bad, and indifferent about how Franklin operates in its township and its landscape, I think will be really important. I imagine you have some aspect of that built into the planning and acclimating of the new dispatchers.
Yeah, sure. As far as, in fact, we possibly have a retirement this year from one of our dispatchers at the end of the year who is eligible for retirement. We also have used in the past, especially at the per diem, some of our officers who were trained in the dispatch room are retired to come back, and as we discussed in the meetings before, it's difficult to bring per diem in because of the rate as far as other people are hiring as well, so it's hard to keep that going. And I'm not quite sure what your question is about our dispatchers training.
No, I mean, I imagine that is of a help when you have the people who have been here a long
sure,
time and you're getting new people. I mean, maybe hopefully those people will be longtime
Sure,
Franklin
that'd be
residents,
great,
but realistically, I imagine you're going to be casting a wide net for hiring
Yeah, that's correct.
new people. And we're talking about $38,000, and it's quite a bit of pressure and quite a bit of an importance of an important job for that kind of money. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some very good people.
Absolutely, I hope so too.
So unless there's any
Okay.
other questions on that, I'd like,
Other questions?
Oh.
Looks like,
I'm sorry.
looks like none. Councilman Regan, go ahead.
So then I don't, I forgot last night if it was determined we needed a motion. So I need a motion for council to accept the recommendation of the chief to bring on 2 additional dispatches plus the ability to have a per diem.
Motion to move that forward.
I'll consider you're making that motion.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay.
Thought you were asking.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion on that? Okay, Ms. can I- voice vote? Okay. All right. All in favor of 2 additional telecommunicators, which in essence would save us overtime in other areas from the police and hopefully will save us money come 2013 and 14 going forward. That's the motion. All in favor of hiring those extra, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Sergeant Dorm, appreciate your time very much.
Just
Thank you
one
very
more?
And we'll go to item 10G, amend police force strength authorization. Councilman Regan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is just a follow-up to an item that I mentioned at the last council meeting regarding, again, it's something that came out of the public safety, which went to financial oversight last night. This is rather straightforward. As you know, we have currently the police force strength authorization is at 98, and it currently includes 2 school resource officers, though technically one is something.
Grade officer.
Yeah, grade officer. But the important aspect is they are funded by the Board of Ed because they are used in the school system, and their salary is paid for by the Board of Ed. They've asked, or they have committed to having another officer coming in with, again, paying the salary. All those figures are available from the sergeant or from the chief, as I don't need to go into all that here. But, so that would make the authorized police force strength go from 98 to 99, and since we had to do this the last time, it has to be brought to a motion on the council for it to be approved. Again, Sergeant Dorm may be an ability to answer any questions if there are any questions about the position, but it is just another school resource officer at the middle.
The middle school.
In the middle school.
Okay, any discussion?
Okay. Okay,
We need a
then-
motion for that, too?
So I make a motion to amend the police force strength authorization from 98 to 99.
Seconded. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Yes,
Yes,
I'd like to
Deputy
amend
Mayor
that
Kramer?
to, what we discussed was amend it to 96 plus 3 SROs. the point of doing that instead of the 99 is that should the school decide, and it might be a good thing that think they don't need the police anymore, that things are working nicely in the school, that they no longer want to pay those, then it is clear that those officers would no longer be on the force, and we would probably reduce by attrition. So it makes it clear to the public and the unions, I suppose, that 96 officers, which is the current force, or the current proposed force, are for what we generally think of as the police force, and the other 3 officers are for the schools. Just to separate it out that way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, Mr. Deputy Mayor, yes, so there was a little confusion on my half prior to this, trying to get the exact motion. That is the recollection
Councilman
as you
Reagan?
presented.
Could I just jump in here for 1 second?
Councilman Wright?
Councilman Chase?
Councilman Chase? Who wants to speak?
I was a little concerned about Mr. Kramer's wording.
Oh, Councilman Chase, go ahead.
Yeah. I assume that in the, I hope unlikely circumstance that the Board of Ed stop paying for these officers, it isn't necessarily that those officers would be let go. It would be a matter of seniority within the police department as to exactly who was let go.
Actually, what I was proposing, although not directly in the ordinance, was no one would be let go. It's just that we would, through attrition, allow it to go down to 96 is the thought that I had in my mind. In other words, we are authorizing a force strength of 96 plus 3 officers for the schools, and should the schools ever say, no, we don't need them, or we only need 2, then those would go down accordingly, but I wouldn't be looking or proposing at this time a layoff. Just as we've seen over the last several years, there's been quite a bit of attrition, and that's how one could reach it. So
Okay.
we wouldn't even have to talk about seniority.
Okay, and just so we're clear how this goes, if someone wasn't seen, like, we won't interrupt each other, just let me know. We'll come on back.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump in there, but no one looked down this way.
Okay.
And Councilman Chase was ready to go. And
So let me know, that's all.
not a problem, Mr.
He's
Mayor,
spoke-
but, you know,
he's-
I didn't think it was going to be a biggie. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank
So,
you, Councilman Wright.
So I
Councilman
guess
Reagan, did you have more to
the
say?
bottom line is, if procedurally, I don't know if I have to withdraw mine so that as it's amended, but the amendment that is proposed by Councilman Kramer, Deputy Mayor Kramer, I second.
You accept?
I accept.
Okay.
And then I'll second. Or will I second first? then-
Okay, here's my thoughts on this, and I'm getting the feeling that this in no way implies if the Board of Education pulls the funding for the officer, that we are in any way even contemplating a reduction in force. So, okay, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not sure why we need the actual separation, but if that makes it work, to me, it's just those number of officers. Maybe I'm not picking up on the nuances here.
So the nuance,
Yeah.
the nuance is that the school board is paying $300,000 for those 3 officers, if they were to withdraw that money, and those officers are spending the overwhelming bulk of their time in the school, if they were to withdraw that money, then the town would lose very little in outside police enforcement, but we would lose $300,000. So it just draws a clear line for unions, for the public, that if we were to decide then, okay, we don't need those 3 officers, let's do a force reduction, then people don't understand what's going on. This way, it's kind of all drawn out ahead of time.
So,
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilman Vasanella?
I understand what's going on. I'd like to think we would keep them on anyway, but I understand that has to be done with prior planning in their budget. But I guess my question is for the attorney. isn't it pretty much come down to whatever agreements are made between, on paper between the school board, or at the time of hiring at the officers, all this just needs to be properly put into the proper legal terms at that point, because anything we say is kind of a moot point, because those agreements are go in writing, correct?
No.
They don't go in
That's
writing.
not correct. What
So-
you're talking about here is establishing your force authorization. So I think that all that the motion is that to make it clear that it's 99, but it's really 96 plus 3 school resource officers. And I think that all that Councilman Kramer is trying to make clear is that you have a contract with the school board, but let's say the school budget gets defeated next year, you go in and you say, I want to cut $5 million out of the school budget, and the school says, I don't want to spend $300,000 on school resource officers. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's, things like that happen. This motion makes it clear that you need 96 officers to patrol the town for your core police function, and those other 3 officers are school resource officers. So therefore, the council's intention would be to, through attrition, to reduce down to those numbers. And that really doesn't have anything to do with the contract between you and the Board of Education. That has, and nor does it have to do with when you hire a police officer, because you hire a police officer pursuant to a collective bargaining agreement. There's nothing in when you hire a police officer that has like it's subject to the availability of funds kind of thing. You hire that police officer, if he works for 5 years and other people come on after him, even though the first 5 years have been working as a school resource officer, there'd be somebody below him that might get laid off if there wasn't, not laid off, but would, it all goes by seniority.
Okay, so
That's
there's a
all.
motion on the floor. We could take a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Mr.
well,
Mayor.
just wait, Ms. Rowan, did you finish your explanation?
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
That's good.
Okay.
That was the
Good
message.
enough.
I had talked too long.
Okay.
So-
This is, okay, there's nothing else. This is me. As long as that's your motion, Councilman Regan, I'll go along. I would go with it either way, but if that's your motion. And the second, whoever seconded it?
Seconded.
Good? So- Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Thanks again, Sergeant Durham, and to the
Thank
Board
you,
of
Sergeant.
Education.
Thank you all very
Thank you,
much.
Sergeant Dora.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, so now we come up to item 10B, Historic Buildings Report. Mr. Wayne McCabe.
I'm not Wayne McCabe, but I'm going to
Mr.
very,
Healy?
very briefly introduce him. Mark Healy, I'm the township planner. As you may be aware, the township hired the firm of McCabe & McCabe to do an analysis of the 21 historic buildings that are on township property. That report, which Wayne will go over briefly, basically evaluated the conditions of those properties, identified physical problems with those buildings, came up with a cost estimates, prioritized some of those, all of those different needed improvements, and it also comes up with a long-term plan for those different buildings and has some big picture recommendations for some of the different sites, which Wayne will go over briefly with you. The report was presented to Open Space last week. The one item, the main, or the first issue of concern is a number of emergency items. They total a total of $108,000 on various properties, which are in the packet that were presented to you. It's my understanding that we are not asking for any additional allocation of funds from the Open Space Trust Fund for those improvements. The council authorized a total of $215,000 for various items out of the Open Space Trust Fund as part of your budget. 125 of that, the Inman Park basketball courts, were paid for through alternative sources. So basically, we're proposing to basically pay for it, kind of reallocate it and pay for it out of the $215,000 that you've already allocated, again, in your budget. And I think that's, with that, I'll give it over to Wayne for a brief.
So the purposes of this presentation is just for our information only,
Yes,
basically,
thank you.
to very quickly brief
Yes, this is going to be an
us on the
overview
report.
of Wayne again, prepared the report. He had basically a day-long session with our Historic Preservation Advisory Committee.
So this
He's
won't
had-
take a day long.
Absolutely not. But it's important to mention that because you've had, the committee that you've charged and asked with input on historic properties. So they've had a lot of input on this. We've had input from the Meadows Foundation as well as from Township staff. There's a number of the recommendations, including basically trying to get rid of some of the buildings. It's very complicated. Mr. Regan said nothing in government happens overnight, and a lot of some of these recommendations we're continuing to look into whether they can actually occur.
Okay.
So the purpose is to kind of give you just a brief overview of what the recommendations are at this point. No actions are asked of the council at this time. It's kind of an important topic, 21 historic buildings, so we wanted to just give you a brief overview of where we are, and again, a summary of some of the first emergency items in order to keep some of these buildings from falling apart.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. McCabe?
Excuse me, Mayor, if I could just, for council, 10B
Ms.
is the entire packet that Mr. McCabe put. If you want to just look at this while he's speaking, if you have any specific questions, not that we want to get into the entire discussion tonight, but this is the entire report that he has presented to the various committees. Thanks, Wayne.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Ms. Fierro. Mr. McCabe, go ahead.
Thank you very much for giving me a few minutes this evening of your time. As Mr. Healy has indicated, that one of the charges I have as the historic preservation consultant to the municipality was to develop an analysis and recommendation of 21 buildings and structures owned by the township on 11 different parcels scattered throughout the township. And these are buildings that are on the National Register. They are buildings that are significant historically and or architecturally in the municipality. And basically the charge of and scope of the project was eightfold. First was to do a complete field evaluation of all of these buildings and structures. Secondly, to identify what work had to be done on each one of them based upon their physical condition. It was not to get down to the minutia of how many three-prong outlets you had or as versus two-prong, but rather what are the structural problems, what are the utility problems with them. Then from there is to prioritize the work that had to be done, to develop cost estimates for all the different projects and work items, to determine the immediate needs and those needs that can then be spread out for the work over the following 3 years. Then to identify what buildings should require demolition. There are some of the structures, the farm-out buildings, there are some of them that are in very hard condition, and they are going to have to, we recommended demolition. Another item was to identify what buildings would be de-accessioned from the inventory. There are 4 of them. One is Dunn House, 2 of them are on Canal Road, and the other is Tulipwood. These are because of their condition, or basically also what use would improve to maintain it for the township for future use. And then also to develop a cyclical maintenance program so that we don't have ongoing major capital work that has to be undertaken. Given those 8 items for the scope of this report, which came in at about 165 pages, the different projects that we looked at in terms were for the immediate capital improvement needs. Some of the work has already been done on an emergency basis by the Meadows Foundation, which relieved us of getting into some of the smaller work. But the larger project aspects, those which had over $1,000 of funding allocated to each one, has been itemized in this report that you have in front of you. I don't know if I want to take your time to go through each one of these items, but let me say this, that we were concerned with any structural problems, any electrical problems, any plumbing problems. One of them over at Tulipwood that we came across just recently was that there was a leak in the plumbing from the second floor coming down through the sanitary line. In the basement, we found it was dripping down rather steadily right onto an electrical junction box. So needless to say, we immediately got an electrician in and a plumber, and we had that repaired so that we didn't have an electrical fire. So those are the kind of things that we were looking at trying to accomplish. In some cases where we know that we have roofs that are leaking very badly, one is going to be replaced, one is going to be tarped down. The one that's be tarped down, that would be the Dunn House, because we're talking about having that de-accession from the list. We also then got into the actual cost breakdown, and that's itemized in this report that you have in front of you. And the bottom line basically comes down to that in the first year that we're in now for the emergency work, we're looking at $107,300 of funds that are needed to undertake all of these improvements. Following that, we have years 1, 2, and 3. And as we're going forward over the next few years, the one thing that we have to be cognizant of is that there may be changes or alterations that we may find that a furnace is giving way and needs to be replaced, or a water filter, or that there is some structural damage that wasn't apparent before but becomes apparent over the next 2 years. So it's a flexible document. But right now, what we're looking at is for the emergency items for all these buildings. And then at the same time, as Mr. Healy has indicated, for the 4 buildings, we're talking about deaccessioning, investigating the possibility of that, and that's something that we would be coming back to you on. In under 5 minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yeah, just quickly, I didn't read the entire report. Wish we had got it before the 20th. But anyway, Tulip Wood.
Yes, sir.
I did read that part, and basically, it doesn't seem like it's fallen apart in any manner, has incredibly costly repairs. You did mention that one item that I think has been tended to.
Yes,
I guess my question, my concern is this, although I'm open-minded to changing my mind, I don't know why the heck we'd want to sell it and why we're selling it, and I read this here, but if that's the standard that we're applying about how many types of uses for an historic building there would be in order for the town to end up actually keeping it that we already owned, and it's fairly well preserved without a lot of cost. What is the, and I also want to mention about I don't know, a couple of months ago, a couple of residents called me up and said, "What are you selling Tulip Wood?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they suggested they heard it was a done deal, we're selling it. I'm not sure, I guess, commentary or rumors escalate, but I was a little disappointed to hear that and have no knowledge of what they were even talking about, because this report, either in a draft form, perhaps it was out, I didn't see it. But again, could you shed some light on this Tulipwood situation? It's one of the few historic homes in that area of town that we own. It's been preserved as well, so.
It is, and I would like to add supplement my comment from before. For the properties that we would be taking out of the inventory and selling back into the private sector, each one of the structures would have an architectural facade easement placed on it, thereby precluding anybody from possibly altering the exterior of the building. If they wanted to do work on the outside, they could, so long as the work is done in accordance with the guidelines of the Secretary of the Interior for preservation of a building. And we would provide a detailed description and have the easement recorded with the county clerk's office. And that this provides the assurance that the building as a historic structure would remain in its same appearance as we see it today. So that, I just wanted to clarify a point that I made earlier on the sale. But in terms of the justification for that, or the thinking, I would offer you this. We have a number of buildings right now on our inventory that are used for different cultural events, lectures, slideshows, musical events, or a host of different things. And these are in the buildings that are in very good condition, that have facilities that are readily available. There's a large room for that, has more than ample parking. But in the case of Tulipwood, I would suggest to you this. The building does need repair, and there's no question of that. It has had some work done on it recently in the form of a new furnace and a new water heater, but it does need a lot of electrical work. The kitchen has been basically stripped to the wall, with the exception of a large cabinet and a sink from the 1920s. But the rest of the room has been basically gutted. To turn that into a usable facility is going to take a lot of money, and there's no question of that at all. And considering the fact that we have a number of other facilities that the municipality currently owns that is under the operational or functional operation and care of the Meadows Foundation, it was our feeling that the buildings that can be used right now are being used, but quite honestly, maybe not to the fullest advantage. There is a lot of time that they may not be used, that can be used as other organizations or people come forward who want to use it. And we felt that by identifying this as, yes, an architecturally and historically significant building, do we really need it to function as it is? So if we were to put it back into the private market, allow it to pay taxes on it, we can assure that it can be preserved by that architectural facade easement.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
If I could speak real quickly to Tulipwood as well. As far as it being a done deal, I think it was a number of months ago that Mr. McCabe was working with the Historic Commission on that. It had not even been presented to you folks, so
Right.
obviously it was far from a done deal. Even right now, it's far from a done deal.
Thank
We're
you.
not sure if it could happen. So right now, it's a recommendation from Mr. McCabe, from the Historic Commission. One of the things that pops up, one of the potential uses is the Sisters Network is right next door. They occupy a building of similar size on a property of similar size. If we are even able to sell it to perhaps an organization like that with a historic facade, with the exterior facade easement on it, then again, we're putting it into private hands. They're now responsible for its maintenance, yet the exterior of the building would remain without the township having to pay for it. So that's where the recommendation came, and again, we're still exploring whether that's even possible. And I can say, and I should tell you that there are some members of the Meadows Foundation who are upset about that idea. So, no decisions tonight. This is just these are the ideas that we're looking into, and we'll come back in a few months and let you know whether it's even possible.
And
then you may have to make some hard decisions.
So thank you for clarifying that, and I'm open-minded to it. When you said about the Sisters Network, if it could be used in a way that can benefit the community, pay taxes, if facade kept on. Again, I'm not sold on it by no means, and I still think I'm leaning against voting for sale of it, but I appreciate this information. At least now it's bringing reasonable arguments on both sides to the forefront. And I wasn't suggesting anybody did anything wrong. It's just, information gets out there as something a done deal. It's happened on several occasions. Just wanted to set the record straight. And again, thank you for your commentary on facts on that situation.
Thank you for raising the issue.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Kramer, then Councilwoman Sherman, and then Councilman Chase.
So this was discussed extensively at both historic and at open space. And the idea is there are limited resources and competing resources. This comes out of the same pot of money that buys open space, the same pot of money that would be used to maintain our current recreation fields, and the same pot of money that would be used to build the future parks that we wish to build. So the idea being, if you can preserve this with private money and not public money, then as long as it's being preserved, then you are meeting the goal of the historic preservation, but you can't preserve every building with private funds if you also want to build Middlebush Park and build the other parks and maintain the other parks and buy open space. So this was, I think, it's not a done deal, but I think it was an excellent suggestion to try to use resources as best as we can.
Okay, Councilwoman Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I realize that we have a rich history here in Franklin Township, so this is a general comment, and it's my own personal feelings. It's somewhat to the same point that Councilman Kramer made. We can't preserve every building here. If you add up all the dollars for 3 years, it's about $1 million. Whether it comes from private contributions, it's grants, or money that's taken from the Open Space Fund, that's a significant amount of money. If the buildings were all utilized in a way that they were productive, then I would perhaps have a different opinion. But several of them are simply deteriorating. We don't do anything with them. Tulipwood is one, several of the two on Canal Road, I believe, or others. Preservation is a wonderful idea, but we have to utilize our resources as best we can. If there's no practical applications, just to have an empty building because it's old certainly is not what we intend to do. I think we need to rethink in the future, should we want to purchase any more buildings, how it's going to be utilized, because they don't come without cost. First, you've got to buy them, and then you've got to maintain them. And $1 million is a lot of money over 3 years.
It certainly is.
Okay, thank you. You're done.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Chase?
Well, I just observe you have the list here of the emergency items. And most of these emergency items you'd identified already in February.
Yes, sir.
And I'm wondering, when do we get the emergencies dealt with? And after that, how do we move to the first year items? And of course, the point is, if you don't deal with things now, it will only be more expensive to deal with them later. I think there's an oil additive ad that runs along that line. And I give you the Kingston School as a case in point where nothing has been dealt with over 5 years and it's just getting worse and worse. But you have this, well, why should we spend money on it if we don't know what we're going to do with it, and we don't know what we're going to do with it because it would cost so much to fix it? I think this is, except for the Kingston School, a plan. Some buildings we will keep, some buildings we're preserving them in the sense that with the facade easement, they're precluded from being torn down and replaced by a McMansion. I've been in, for instance, the Dunn House. It's a beautiful house. It also needs about $200,000 worth of work. And if the township does the work because of the prevailing wage requirement, it would actually cost more than if a private party does it. And furthermore, in many cases, and the kitchen in Tulip Wood is a particularly good one, exactly how you would want to renovate it is really something better decided by somebody who purchased the house rather than by the township, because you might wind up with, that's exactly the kind of kitchen I don't want at the time you have a prospective purchaser. So I think the basic plan is good. I just hope we can move ahead with it expeditiously before things get any worse, and commit the money and do the work.
No, I'm ready to move around.
Okay.
If there's
Okay.
I assume this is going to go to some committee, and that's going to help refine this and come back with a more detailed.
All right, yeah,
So I'm ready to move along.
My comments first, and then I'll...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Then that's a good point. Where do we go? I think Councilman Chase makes a good point about Kingston. It's been sitting there a long time, the ADA regulations, et cetera. We really can't do anything with it, and I think interpreting them right, either we decide or not already, decide either do it or don't. As far as Tulip Wood, this is mine, and I forget the configuration too much. You said Sisters Network. I've been to a few functions at Sisters Network, like a book reading and things such as that, and accommodate okay. Most of the houses are on the western side. This is the only thing I'm recalling on the 4th and 5th Ward kind of area, Hamilton Street. So this is me personally. I would hope we could preserve something like that for the town and make use of it. That being said, I have to look through everything. I'm just giving you my thoughts. I know you did everything thoroughly. That's just off the top of my head here. I appreciate your efforts. But again, that keeps me strong. If we can do something for that end of town, historically, I think that'd be great. Now, to Councilman Regan's point, where do we go? What's our best road from here? We have historic looked. Mr. McCabe wrote this report. Are we going to flesh it out more, or?
It's,
At this
Mr.
point,
Healy?
on the emergency items, I think we're moving forward.
Yes.
The point was to present these items to you tonight. Open Space reviewed them at their last meeting and recommended positively. As far as the next year items, I assume the plan would be we would put them in the budget for the council's review and approval for the next budget year.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, pardon me, Ms. Fierro, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Healy is correct. The council recently just adopted our budget. The open space funding is in place to do the emergency items. They'll be taken care of this year. As part of next year's budget, you'll see the year one items that may or may not change over the next couple of months, and council will decide the plan of action based on the budget that's going to be put forward for open space.
Okay, now we do have to make some kind of, I would think, proactive decision on Kingston. I'm looking at $200,000 immediate needs. Are we deciding whether we're going to do that at some point soon? Are we putting off that decision? I'm just looking at page 2, Kingston, 200,000.
I think it's up to the council. I mean, the recommendation from, this was discussed at Open Space, and as Councilman Chase had mentioned, the recommendation from Open Space was to investigate whether the Kingston School could also, just the school building itself, could be separated off from the rest of the property and perhaps sold for some type of appropriate private use, again with the facade easement. And they did not recommend in favor of the improvements that are listed before you at this time.
Okay,
That
they
was
did
Open
not
Space.
recommend those improvements.
That was Open Space's recommendation.
Okay, so nothing's being done, as far as you know, to Kingston at this point?
That's correct. Obviously, you have the final decision on that, but that's the Open Space recommendation.
Ms. Fierro, you're gonna?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. From time to time, we are approached by business people who are interested in the Kingston School. Over the past few months, we've been in contact with a business person who has had a few tours of the Kingston School, and we're hopeful that by the end of the summer, they may actually have a presentation that we can share with council. So at this point, based on the recommendation from Open Space not to do anything, and perhaps the pending availability of some funds, at this point, I think staff's recommendation is to just wait on the Kingston School. Also, there's been no money allocated in the budget to do anything for it, for this year's budget. Thank you.
Okay, and my mindset's kind of like with Open Space, with nothing for Kingston until we decide, but that's just me personally. Okay, anything else
Mr.
with
Mayor?
this? Councilman Prasad, please.
Yeah, I share your sentiments as far as having something in the 4th and 5th Ward and preserving some historic area. And one of my thoughts is, I don't know, you probably remember it, just on the other side of the Franklin-New Brunswick border, on Hamilton Street, you had a restaurant called Dominic's that was in a historic house. And a similar Italian or French type of restaurant, and I've seen quite a few of them on 202 in Basking Ridge, that are housed in these type of historic buildings, Italian restaurants as well as French restaurants, that you can ride up there, and I'll be glad to show you, that there is a lot that can be done, and if we wanted to preserve it, the character would be preserved, but it could still be maintained by a tenant or whatever you want to do, but that's a creative way of coming at it, and still having the nature, I mean, the access for the public, as well as maybe even a draw, of having another restaurant or something that'll draw people to Franklin. And it would be, one of those Zagath-rated restaurants that would draw business to Hamilton Street. So I think we can get creative on it and see what we can do about it. So let's leave it to them to come back to us with recommendations, but those are just my thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, one last thought.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yeah, and I stepped out of the room, so I don't think it was brought up, but, we've been talking for decades, literally, about some kind of youth center or some kind of place kids can go and use their time constructively, especially in the 4th Ward, 5th Ward. Technically, Tulips Wood's in the 4th. I represent the 5th. A lot of our issues in community spill over and blend into that whole area. Has that been looked at? Can that be looked at? I realize the building needs maintenance. Wouldn't it be a great thing, guys? Everybody, we've all been pushing for rec centers, drop-in centers. Well, Tulip Wood is very accessible to a lot of people a lot of youth in that area. I just would like to see it before it's completely tossed off the table to be considered.
Yeah, I don't think that would be necessarily something that Mr. McKinney.
No, I know. I'm kind of throwing out there for
Perhaps
council.
the Rec Advisory Council or the Rec, or Alice.
I don't really care who, where. I'm just, sometimes we don't see some solutions that are right in front of our face. Not suggesting this will solve that problem, but boy, you'd like to think it'd be great to have a piece of property that big with such a historical draw that could lend itself to a whole new appreciation of having a drop-in center that kids could get involved in. some really healthy activities and a large piece of property to do that. So I'd like that. I don't know. I know, sitting here talking to you, I'm trying to think of where that would go next. I'll try to pursue it on my own. If any other council people have any ideas, maybe we can work together.
Okay, I guess we're good on this one now? All right. Hey, thank you much. Appreciate the efforts.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much for your time this evening. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Councilman Regan?
Yeah, on the council discussion item number 8, I know they're not there yet, but I have to address something. I'd like to make a motion to remove this from discussion tonight and to put this on hold. It did come up last night at the Finance Oversight Committee. It was kind of a late add-on that we needed to do this. I did get information from the attorney that if we don't do the appointment tonight, the judge will stay on until we do another appointment. So I'd like to give us more time to review, potentially more candidates, or just to review the process besides being forced tonight to make the appointment.
I second the motion.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a consensus to discuss that item now. If that's okay. So what is it, just so I know, look like, are we going to give all candidates? We're going to have a committee? What's your concept?
I don't know.
as far as that?
I certainly would be willing for the admin committee to make their recommendation. But at this point, in the meantime, until we do it, we can, it's not like he stops being the judge. It's just that the appointment kind of rolls into, I don't want to use the term per diem, but it just stays on, right, Mr. Attorney?
He just serves as a hold. He just serves as a holder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this, just so you know where I'm coming from, this came suddenly. I respect any council person who wants to put this off to think about what he or she would like to do. That's perfectly fine. I'm just trying to get a concept. If we have a candidate, should we give it to each other? Are we waiting a meeting or two? I just want to know what I should do if there's one I like or recommend.
Is the admin committee going to pick it up, then maybe that would be the place to focus any resumes and suggestions.
Okay.
I would be fine with that.
So you can give our resumes to the township clerk, and the
Right.
admin committee will review them.
Here's my reluctance, much I respect what the admin committee does and what they could come up with. Are we going to have I wouldn't want all of our appointments to go through the admin committee, and that's if I were on it or not. That means, like, at the end of the year, all the town attorneys, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, public defender, all those people would be cycling through there. That might be, A, a bad precedent, and B, kind of overwhelming
Mr. Mayor,
for them also.
at this point in time, we're not setting any precedent. This was something that came up at the Finance Oversight Subcommittee meeting last night when I brought it up and said, by the way, this is something that was put on our radar very quickly. We need to act on it. And so we'll take the pool of candidates and make a decision about the process of interviewing, because certainly there may be people like yourself who will want to be involved in the interview process. So we'll just be vetting those, getting those resumes and seeing what kind of pool we'll have available, and then we'll talk about next steps from there. And you will not be excluded from that process.
thanks.
So we're
Is
not
it-
setting a precedent, but I'd like to move on because I think that's the best way to handle this
Okay,
right now.
I understand you want to move on, but I got to understand where we're coming from. I give you respect of doing this, give me the respect,
Yeah.
Are you saying that the administration committee is going to interview the candidates, or the administration committee is going to come up with the process?
We're going
I
to come up
think-
with a process, and that assumes we're going to have candidates to interview. So
Okay.
if there's a pool of candidates that we'll have to interview, yeah, we'll have to come up with an interviewing process to do that, to go forward.
Okay,
Assuming,
assuming that, I want to be clear, assuming there were, does that mean the administration committee is going to interview the candidates?
No,
'Cause that's a no.
no,
Mr. Mayor,
Process.
Yeah.
They've just been-
Mr. Mayor, since I made
Fine.
the
Councilman
suggestion,
Regan was-
I actually just think it as right now, just a holding gate. Without making any commitment to,
Then-
there will be a new process, there won't be a new process, but just a temporary holding gate until we have some time to vet this amongst ourselves.
And that's very fine also, okay.
So,
Thank you.
that would
I
be
guess
my-
if there were interviews, I'd like to be part of the
I
process.
agree
Thank
fully
you.
with that.
All right. I am good. I appreciate you indulging me.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Ms. McCarthy, we didn't vote on that, did we? No. We have to vote on that Do we have to really vote?
Well,
We're just
vote to
not
remove it.
voting, there's nothing.
No,
to
we
vote
don't
on,
need
is
to
there?
vote on that.
No, you just
We can go
discussed
up.
it.
Oh, we just discussed.
Okay, all right. So then we'll go to
Discussed to remove it.
10C, East Millstone First Aid Squad Building Update, Councilman Bassinet.
Yeah, actually, Mayor, I can, were you done with that?
No, that was done already. He presented it.
No, okay, Councilman Prasad, please. Yeah, if I could just address C and then get right into D for a moment. The East Millstone was going to do that more formal PowerPoint presentation, as mentioned earlier. They are very confident they'll be ready on the 10th. And if there's any accompanying materials, I'll ask, hopefully, that they'll be able to send some, so council could be more prepared in case they have any questions about the information that night. Mayor, if you can allow me, I just, and anybody from the administration committee obviously can jump in here, but I just want to introduce D to bring it to a point that we can have Mr. Haviland come up. It's about the cable TV, if I can just
Okay,
have a
on the
moment
next
to
item-
bring that up to
okay,
speed on
so
where,
10D,
we're
Cable
at.
TV Advisory Committee.
yes, or second
This
to the
comes from
last
the
item.
Administration Committee, Franchise Renewal Process.
Yeah, and,
So first ask Administration Committee.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Are we going to the next one? Councilwoman,
so,
I'll take it.
Councilman Prasad.
It's something that, we discussed at the Administration Committee meeting, and feel that the Admin Committee is not the place where we should be negotiating for this contract, and that we feel the best people to do it is the Cable TV Committee, and we would like to recommend to the council that they should be put in charge of any procedures and contracts, negotiations, and just to keep the council advised of what's going on. And we, where needed, the council could provide the guidance on substantive matters. But the township council, the attorney would be able to advise them better. And it is a complicated process, so we would like the Cable TV Committee to actually handle this whole process, since they've been intimately involved in it from the very start.
Okay,
That's our recommendation from the Admin Committee to the council.
Okay, Councilwoman Sherman?
Yeah, I'm a bit confused. What I thought we agreed to was to allow the Cable Committee to do all the preliminary work, to do all of the surveys and gather the basic information, and then to put it to the council to make a decision as to who's going to be negotiating the contract. That was my understanding. I don't know if anybody else, I don't think we were asking them to take on the negotiations alone.
No, those would be the recommendations that come back to us after their preliminary work and handling of it. But they are intimately involved in it, more so than any admin committee or even the council members.
Understood, but I don't feel a volunteer organization should be given the heavy responsibility of negotiating a town-wide contract on cable. I think there should be a decision by the council as to who is going to do that. I don't recall that recommendation, so.
whatever. So, Mayor, can I?
Councilman Vaснella,
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Kramer.
So, I think what ultimately we're talking about, or hopefully we're going to get to, is kind of a hybrid of what's been said here. But let me just preference a couple of facts first. I have been basically the council liaison since I got the the cable committee kind of back into existence. Real quickly, I don't have the bylaws in front of me, but one of the main charges and projects of the cable advisory. I'll wait for the conversations to finish.
Go ahead, speak.
Okay, folks, this is the, in my mind, where it all comes to. Part of the assignment of a cable committee, one of the reasons it's formed, I believe it's described somewhat in the bylaws. 15 years ago, when this came up the last time, or whenever it was, 13, 14, 15 years ago, the cable committee spearheads the situation. They don't make the decision. I don't think they're even remotely looking at making the decision. They don't do it in a vacuum, nor do they do it alone. We have a staff member, a township staff member that works closely with it. Obviously, either our township attorney or perhaps some other attorney, probably just our township attorney, would be closely involved with them. Management would be closely involved. Whether you come up with a formal negotiating team or not, which is a blend of other people and the cable committee, those are all options. But I think what's important here is to understand these lay people, these volunteers, are probably more knowledgeable about, except for perhaps our township attorney, more knowledgeable at this point than anyone else relative to what's involved with this. The details, the multi-year process. I don't want to speak for Mr. Havlin. I think understandably, a couple months ago, the committee, and he's the chair of the committee, taken over from Victory Chase last year, they came up with strategies. They attended workshops. They've done a lot of research. They just wanted, before they keep doing this and then it being disregarded or made irrelevant to the process, wanted to understand what part they can play in it. I think they're open to playing a lot or a little. We'll hear from the chairman tonight. The problem, and it was just miscommunication, a lot of other issues coming up, but when I had brought this, or kind of filtered to the council via me and other people in the committee, what do you want us to do? What do you want the cable committee to do? It was kick the administration committee, which is fine, and we're just a few months later now in the process, but although it's a year away before things really have to happen, that's not a lot of time for the type of process this is. So my suggestion is, as much as they're willing and wanting to do, working with legal and working with township administration, that they are given as much area of this ascertainment period to be involved with that they legally and practically can. But the chair, I guess, will speak more about the views of the board.
Okay. I promised people over here. Go ahead. Deputy Mayor Kramer, Councilman Wright, then Councilwoman Francois. Okay.
I would just like to hear from our township attorney on his experience on these. My guess is he's been involved with this type of thing before.
I missed that part of the I don't necessarily know that we want to talk about what our negotiating kind of strategy is here, or how it is we're going to approach that today. And I have a lot of respect for the Cable Advisory Committee, and I know they've attended workshops about how to do this. But I think I think I agree with one of the council people who said fundamentally, we're negotiating a franchise with the township. That's not a responsibility we delegate to an advisory committee. It's just not. It might be something that you might delegate to the township manager and a small committee of the council. And certainly the advisory committee, the council committee or the manager should meet if they're gathering information and doing all of those things. But fundamentally, I know you're talking about this year-long process. My concern is, and my concern always is in these things, because having done literally dozens of them, is that there's a lot of running around, gathering information in areas that are of vital interest to the advisory committee and maybe to people in the township that have virtually nothing to do with the negotiations of this franchise. So when you look at this and say, oh my gosh, it's going to take a year to negotiate this agreement, that tells me that you don't understand what the process is. It tells me...
Not that it's going to take a year, but it plays out over the course of a year.
If I can just...
Mr. Reno.
So my advice is that council put whatever process they want to put in effect to interact between council and the advisory committee so that you can use the advisory committee to whatever your benefit is. But when the time comes that you're going to sit down with the cable committee and negotiate this, I think it's your manager, I think it's me or somebody from my office who does these things all the time, maybe a couple of members of the council. That's how the contract actually gets negotiated, in my opinion. Because you're talking about a contract, it's a 15-year contract, you're talking about negotiating the terms of an ordinance, you're talking about negotiating something that will, ultimately get some state approval. And I don't think that you delegate that to an advisory committee under any circumstance. That's my take on it.
Okay, Senator Bruce. Mayor Kramer, was that done? Okay, Councilman Wright, then I'll go to Councilwoman Francois, and then Councilman Chase.
Thank you to our counselor for enlightening us, and whatever he said and however he said it, ditto to those comments because they made sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Francois?
I was basically going to echo what our township manager said, and I know that the admin committee talked about this, and I arrived late, and they were finished talking about it. So clearly, we did not have the guidance that we needed from our township attorney, but I think that's the way to go. And we would like to solicit input from that advisory committee. Otherwise, why would we have an advisory committee? But clearly, the role and responsibility is on the township staff and the council to make those decisions going forward. And I think that's all we need to talk about, right, at this point?
Well, Councilman Chase didn't get a chance to speak, and he had asked.
Well, I've always assumed that township council or the manager or some combination would do the negotiating. The question is, you have a cable TV committee that can develop background information for you. They can understand what you can negotiate about and what you can't negotiate about. But given that once you can establish what you can negotiate about, and if the cable TV committee can develop your backup information on which to base your negotiations, that's what they can do, and I think that's what they would like to have defined, what they are asked to do. But obviously, the final negotiations should be done presumably by council, but not in a vacuum. It should be done with some understanding of what the community feels about the present franchisee, whether that we should look at other franchisees. I don't know anything about this myself, but presumably the committee knows something about this, and would like, they do not want to spin their wheels and develop a lot of information that will then be ignored in the negotiations. It should be established what they should and shouldn't work on. And then that is advisory, as the title says, to those who do the negotiation.
Okay, thank you. So,
I agree with how Ted
guess-
summarized that, and I'm just,
Councilman Vasanella?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't know if he even wanted to make a quick statement, but we're doing a lot of talking. Maybe if the council would entertain, allow the chairman just to not get into debate here, but just clarify, because even myself may not be fully clear on what they want to do, can do, or how they're interpreting what we're saying, Mayor. So I ask the council entertain that.
Okay, and I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Anone.
Mr. Mayor, I have a suggestion that I think might be helpful, and in reading the response request from the Cable TV Committee, their question really is who's going to conduct the negotiations and what do you need us to do if you need us to do anything. I think that that's a summary of it. Here's my suggestion. Nancy Kiss from my office has been the person who has been my point person on negotiating a number of these. She's very knowledgeable. She's dealt with them, dealt with BPU on these issues. Here's my suggestion, that she meet with the Cable TV Committee. You appoint a couple of council council people for that purpose. She can take you through the whole process, take you through, before you go off doing surveys and stuff, to give you some guidance as to what information you'll need and won't need in negotiation. And then that will, that'll start the relationship between gathering information from the Cable TV Committee to council, and then, the manager will be involved in that meeting, obviously, also, and then you can, roll right into how you're going to conduct the negotiations. That's my suggestion.
Okay, and with all these things, the point person being the manager?
Ultimately, I think the manager is always the person who will negotiate with you, but obviously having some people on council there, helps that process also.
Okay, so for council, do you want to choose those people
I was just
now,
saying, Mayor, I think
Councilman
that's a good
Vasanella?
place to go. I was saying before, like a hybrid of these ideas, that's a good place to move forward to get more clarity. I would be happy as the liaison, of course, and having been fairly well-versed in this for a councilperson, to serve in that role and then invite, if there's one or two other really interested council people. And then, somehow I guess that whatever committee ultimately forms will come out of all.
Okay, so the point person
All of
being the
this.
manager, Councilman Vasanella, is interested in being one of those people. Is anyone else at this time? It can certainly be put in.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Chase for that.
Okay, so if Councilman Chase
He's close to the situation.
and Vasanella. Anyone else? Okay.
Okay.
Are,
And I'll meet with the manager, and what we'll try to do is not set it up here, but we'll coordinate a meeting with those, we'll get in touch with everybody, and we'll go from there.
And maybe, if possible, it could be a meeting or a specially held meeting that they have. And we'll
Absolutely.
obviously work around
Yep.
your schedule, and then we'll get more clarity and understand. I understand, I agree, they aren't the ones to negotiate, but I do sincerely believe some of the work they've done and may be capable to do could be of help to this process.
Excellent.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
with
Yeah,
respect
Councilman
to
Sherman.
Randy
Yes.
Haviland, who's here from the committee, if you'd like to come up, if you have any questions or issues, please
Yes.
feel free.
Thank you.
Randy Haviland, 70 Johnson Road, Somerset.
Hi,
Current
welcome,
chair
Mr. Haviland.
of the Cable TV Committee. I'd like to assure the council that we have no intention of defining issues or going out to collect any information whatsoever in this matter, other than information from the BPU and information from other people in townships who've been through these negotiations, so we can find out how things really work. And I rather suspect that Ms. Kiss will also have some information for us. We're not intending to define any issues or collect any information until we have some appropriate guidance. I, in fact, have not held any meetings for the last 2 months because my queries to the administration, to the council, have not been returned. And I don't want to waste people's time. So I will very much appreciate some guidance and look forward to a meeting so that we can get forward on this. It's my understanding, just to note, I believe you have in your packets a brief email from me. It's my understanding that whatever negotiating points there will be need to be contained in a municipal report, which needs to be put together by the 11th of December of next year. I believe that's the state of affairs, that we got to have it written down before we negotiate. So that's our time limit, and there may be necessities for public surveys, there may be necessities for public meetings, but those determinations will be made once we've decided what we're going to be negotiating about and what data we need to support those points. If you have any other questions for me, I'd be glad to entertain them.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Haviland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a basic motion as, again, manager being the point person, of course, hire the appropriate attorney, Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Chase being members of that committee also, and they'll take their shape. And if any council person wants to join next time, they certainly can at this point. So I'll take that as a motion that was made. Would that be
One
okay?
other comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman
I would like to put some kind of time frame around this. We've obviously allowed 2 months to slip past, and
Yes.
nothing was done. So if we could say by the middle of July, the team is together, the meeting is set up, and things are moving forward, if that's a reasonable time frame, I'd like to at least put some constraints on that.
Absolutely, from my point of view, that's not a
concept.
problem at all. I'll talk to the manager tomorrow, or to Donna tomorrow, and we'll get that going right away.
Great.
Yeah, and I assume that they have all of the contact information. We'll put an email list together and start setting up meetings.
Great.
Okay, with the
Great.
time frame, whose motion would that be for anyone?
Who made it? I forgot who.
Well, it was kind of a combination of for the whole thing.
Well, I'll make
I'll
the
make the
motion to be in
motion.
accordance or amended as
As
Councilwoman
amended, I
Sherman
make the motion,
and the attorney.
Okay.
or second the motion.
Moved and seconded.
Wait,
Um,
I'm
Councilman-
sorry, can you restate the motion, please?
This is, I'll put it in my words, you tell me if I don't have it right.
Okay.
To go ahead, have the manager go ahead with the negotiations as he sees fit, along with the attorney, and to have Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Chase as members of that committee at this point, and to get back to us by mid-July, Or
That meeting is set up
up by mid-July.
no later than. It could be before, but no later than
No later than
mid-July.
mid-July.
The main part is to meet with the cable committee.
Right.
To get a
And the
better
attorney.
sense of the direction we're going.
And Ms. Kiss.
Yeah, and
The attorney. And the attorney.
Lou's point person.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and initial meeting, I mean, there may not be a lot done during, pick up more heavily in the fall, but to have an initial meeting set.
All right,
I
so moved-
second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Are we all okay with it? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. Very good. We're on our road to good cable TV. Continued. Okay, so now we come to the last, even though it's in the middle, of our council discussion items, that's 10E, search for township manager.
Oh, my goodness.
Deputy Mayor Kramer.
So it is my distinct displeasure to announce that Manager Novick, for those of you who haven't heard, it's probably the least best-kept secret in town. Manager Novak has accepted a job as Chief of Police in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and will be leaving us. He has showed dedication to us in that he will not be leaving us, at least in what he told me, until the beginning of September, so that it can be as smooth a transition as possible. But unfortunately, we are once again in need of a search for another manager, and I thought we should expedite that as much as possible by at least discussing the start of that here. And I think my hope is to limit the discussion to whether this would be done, the search would be done by the admin committee or by an ad hoc committee. And if by an ad hoc committee, then who would be on that committee?
Okay. Discussion at this point? Since none, I'll weigh in.
Go for it.
Okay. I would prefer an ad hoc committee. And I'll say extremely selfishly, because I'm not on the admin committee, and I'd like to see what's happening as we go forward. I was part of it last time, and so I would, it's an important thing in town. I'd certainly want to be part of that.
How much work are you going to do?
I will not do any work at all. No, okay, no, whatever.
Well,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Wright?
if I can,
Yes, sir.
since we're going to go the ad hoc committee way, I would like to nominate my good friend and deputy mayor, Philip Kramer, for that ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Okay. Or are there others who would want to, or any other thoughts?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate
Prasad.
Kimberly Francois, who did a yeoman's job at the last selection committee and carried the entire weight by herself on that.
Well, that is true.
Somebody's got to do the work.
So you want to nominate me to do the work? That's good.
Work flows to the competent until they submerge, you know?
Yeah,
So-
are we,
so-
are we,
before-
we're going forward accepting nominations from the floor? Is that what we're doing? I would
I
like
guess
to
so.
nominate Mr. Mayor,
Geez,
who didn't do much work at all, but he is the mayor.
Oops.
Okay.
You're going to go down that road.
No, that was just being funny. That was just funny. But no, I think the mayor should be on that
Right.
subcommittee.
So before people get nomination happy, I see this as we have to work very quickly and very hard, so we don't have a gap. And I see 3 meetings a month in this. I mean, it's not up to me to set the rules, and I don't want to start discussing protocol. But this is going to be a blood and guts committee. So.
Okay. And I guess we're limited at 4, right? Unless it's kind of technical, executive session. Well, I've got Deputy Mayor Kramer, myself, thank you, Councilwoman Francois.
And
accept
I
the
would like to,
nominations?
pay Councilman Wright back and nominate him.
I'm loving my friend Phil. We're good friends. I like him.
Okay, any other thoughts?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilwoman Sherman?
if I may, this is a very high energy committee. I don't think anyone should be embarrassed into being on this committee. I don't think anyone should do it without giving a great deal of thought to the commitment and whether they're able to make that commitment. If you can't, don't do it. I think we should give it some thought and, again, put a time limit, let's say by Friday. If anyone who is really interested, you've got to want this, otherwise it's going to be a burden. So anyone who is really interested to contact our acting manager. I almost made you mayor there, Don.
Don't be demoting her.
And with any other thoughts as far as members of the committee that they might suggest. And let's all focus that to her. Hopefully by Friday, we're going to have our 4 committee members, but let's not embarrass people into membership.
Okay, so Councilman, just one question, then, if you feel, are you suggesting we vote on this next meeting and then asking?
No, that's not the suggestion. I like your recommendation. Anybody that's interested, give their name to Donna. That way we can take this off the public floor.
Okay.
And then, based on the people that are interested, then she can give the names to the deputy mayor, and we can go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Deputy Mayor Kramer, your thoughts?
I'd like to settle it tonight. I don't think we need to wait and ponder it. I want to get this thing moving. So I'd prefer that it be done tonight.
Well, I'm with the deputy mayor, and going down the road, I'm definitely committed to the process, so I'm definitely in. Now, if any of the 4 who were just nominated this evening don't want to be in on the pool, get out. But we're going to solve our issue and move forward. And anybody else got any comment on that issue, then we just got our 4 members.
Well, let me just say, I know there's
Councilwoman
concern
Francois.
on my behalf, including my own concern, because my plate is full. But I also do think that this is an area where I have a lot of expertise, because I've hired hundreds of individuals in my professional career over the last 35 years. So if I make the commitment, I'm going to fulfill the commitment. There's no way I would take this on, just in case anybody is concerned, and not be committed to giving it my best. But if there's somebody else that really feels that they want to do it, I'm happy to fall back. Because we can only have 4 people do it. So.
Okay. I don't want to put you on the spot, Councilman Sherman, but your idea was to send names later on. Do you want to?
But if it can be decided tonight, that's even better. But I just didn't want to put people in a position.
Okay, no, that's fair. It's kind of you. So do you want to vote on it? And if anyone else is interested, perhaps they could forward the names to?
Well, let's
the
hear if
manager
anybody
or-
else is
Councilman
interested
Chase.
tonight. Councilman Chase.
I'd be interested in doing it because I know you have a lot more calls on your time than I do my being retired, although you also have more experience in this sort of thing, although, in a university you do get involved with hiring new professors. It's not totally different.
If I may,
Yeah,
Mr.
please,
Mayor, I do
Councilwoman
have a suggestion. Perhaps if it's a hardship for some of our council people, and my plate is too full right now, and I'm not about to take this on because I wouldn't do justice to it, perhaps someone who was on the previous committee who's no longer on the council, and I'm thinking particularly of former Councilman Dan Glicklick. If we can't get 4 council people, I'm just
I
suggesting
think we can
that.
get 4 council
Okay.
people, because that's our decision. I don't think we should delegate that.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, actually got 5.
Oh, you do?
Do you want to vote on them or come to a consensus? I've got Deputy
I'm
Mayor.
trying to figure out whether Councilwoman Francois is in or out.
I said I'm in. I'm committed to
okay.
this. I am committed to this.
Fine, do it.
Good.
Okay.
So who
So
are?
Do I want to do it? No, but I'm committed to doing it.
So Councilman Chase, if I can
Who wants to
interpret
do
what you're
more
saying.
work?
You're saying if Councilwoman Francois didn't want to do it, you would be in there?
Now, how many have we got? Who's in there?
Then I've got 4.
So you got 4.
Deputy Mayor Kramer, Councilman Francois, myself, Councilman Wright, and Councilman Chase, you said if Ms. Francois, Councilman Francois didn't do it, you would step in. Am I interpreting it right? I don't want to put you off.
You good?
Okay.
So,
Essentially, this is the same committee as the last committee, except
For Carl.
Carl is replacing Mr. Glicklick.
So Mayor,
Councilman Vasanella?
maybe what Councilman Chase could do is serve in a capacity, not that he doesn't have a lot of other responsibilities, but as a alternate, so he could bring his knowledge to the table. If there's only 3 of yous going, he can maybe serve as your official alternate. The more people involved, there should be 4 people in the room.
Okay, so
Can be.
if there's nothing else, I'll take it as those 4 names as being nominated. And, okay, all in favor of those 4 by acclamation?
So
Oh.
would that be to consider the
Amend that
alternate?
and make Dr. Chase as an alternate.
Well, that was.
Got it.
In case
Okay.
the mayor or deputy mayor are busy
Well, in
and
case any-
can't make it. you know,
Okay.
If
we'll have
anybody
That's fair,
substitutes.
keep him in on the.
Can't go, give the
Right.
courtesy in
Absolutely,
this.
very good. Good thought.
Okay.
Okay,
So
thank you
Mayor,
for the
just before you vote on that, I just,
Vasanella, go ahead.
I know it's got to move quick and there's a lot of time. Part of the committee, will you commit to, you're asking for us a vote, the 4 you in with the alternate, with this task. Even with the quick timeline, can there be some kind of updating to council, whether it has to come under the cover of, confidential or whatever, but some more details of how it's evolving? I mean, there was a lot of good that came out of the last process, but I don't think, I think that could be improved upon.
That's fair, probably executive sessions unless it's public, most meetings.
Whatever the attorney gives guidance to your committee in that regard, but just that there's a very
That's
specific
totally fair.
process for information to come
I
out.
think I slipped last time a little bit. in
Well, I
disseminating.
really wasn't suggesting that, just that then we
Nope,
can
I'll
all be
take
more
it.
on the same page when this crucial decision needs to be made in the next few months.
And I'd like to make a motion that our deputy mayor be the chair of that search committee.
I second that motion.
Okay, now I got to weigh in again. Last time we did it without a designated,
We did have a chair. I was the chair. We
Yes.
had a designated chair.
Yes, we
You
did.
have to have a chair.
Yes, we
You
did.
have to
Or
have
you could do
somebody in
co-chair.
charge. You have to have somebody in charge.
You can have co-chair.
No, you got to have somebody in charge. Co-chair doesn't work. Oh, okay, that was a joke. Okay.
all right,
Chair to call the meetings.
okay. Well, the meetings are usually by consensus or appointment at any point. Okay. Okay, so there's the motion then. All right, all in favor?
You okay with that, Mayor?
I mean, not on a personal level, on just a professional level. Okay. Okay, could we hash it out at the meeting? Or do you want to put that in there?
Since this is such a critical issue on behalf, the function that we're going to perform on behalf of the council, I think we want to hear from our council colleagues who they want to put in charge of the search committee and who they want on the search committee.
Okay. All right.
But if you guys are not comfortable with making the decision tonight, let's move on.
No, let's vote.
Okay, so do you want to include the chair or not at this point?
Let's include
Okay.
the chair.
Okay.
We'll move on.
Okay.
You're not comfortable, Mayor.
No, yeah, not on any personal level, just,
I just said I would like to choose the chair tonight and not move ahead. I don't think anybody heard me. So it's been a motion on the floor. I'm not pulling back. If anybody's not pulling back, please let us proceed and vote for the chairman of the committee. The people have a right to know, and we're not going to tap dance around the issue, because when we get into the closed-door meeting, everybody's going to want to pull out a knife. Everybody's going to want to do something stupid. Let's vote on the thing right now and get over with. This is not a political issue. Damn it, why can't we just say, we got a motion on the table. No one else is throwing their hat in the ring. Phil Kramer, someone nominated him. I seconded it. No one else is jumping up. Let's vote.
okay, how about if
Let's
we,
vote.
how about if we split the question? First the committee, then the chair. Don't put your hand on your head like that. If you want to do it.
Who the hell are you talking to?
You want to split
Whoa,
the question or not?
whoa.
I'm talking to you.
Hold up. No one did anything to you. There was a question on the floor. Vote on that question, then we'll move to the second question. But don't pull that on me, because I don't pull it out on you.
Okay, let's.
No one has ever called you out of place, and for one thing, Mayor, I don't pull any favorites, but do not do that here this evening. Now, if you got an issue, we can do it private, but if you want to air it out, go for it.
Okay, Councilman Wright.
No, you don't talk to me that way either. This is becoming ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to split the question or not? I'm offering it to you.
We're going to vote on the committee.
And then we'll vote on the chair.
And then we'll vote
Okay.
on the chair. Let's move on, please.
Okay, on the committee as delineated with the alternate, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Okay, motion is carried for the committee. Now, you want to make a nomination for the chair? That'll stand. Okay. And I'm going to, any others? Okay, I'm going to ask for yes, no, or abstain on the chair. See if we can do that by voice. All in favor of Deputy Mayor Kramer as the chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. Abstain? I'll have the yeses have it.
There was one abstention.
I was just going to stay, and I was just
Okay.
hoping you guys could work this out in a much more professional manner when you get together.
So
but-
was I.
Well,
And the thing
Takes
is,
everyone, Mayor.
we were going together, it was going harmoniously, and when I asked for a little piece of something for my respect, that's dropped off the cliff. Okay, so fine, so now we're degrading again.
Okay, onward.
Okay. Item number 11, approval of the minutes. There are none submitted for this meeting. Warrants. Warrants are the bills that we pay. Warrants in the amount of $1,818,688.53 on June 26, 2012, are presented to the Township Council for payment. Is there a motion to pay the warrants as read?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried.
I thought we had to vote on them by roll call.
Okay, yeah, let's see. No, Councilman Chase, you're right, I should have had a roll call. Okay, I have the moved in second, do you have those, Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry. Okay, please poll the council on payment of the warrants.
Councilman
you.
Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Next, we come to item number 13, Community Development Block Grant. There's two pieces today. One is the 2012 Action Plan, and that is, we have our list over here, and I believe that's in front of us, of items that's requested, recommended, and then an amendment, technically called substantial amendment, to our Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, from 2011. Ms. Mitchell, would you care to enlighten us briefly on both of those pieces?
I had a nice little presentation for you.
Okay, good.
But I think I'm going to keep it real simple.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Whatever you think gives the information.
Well, this is our third year on our consolidated plan, and we received $234,511 for our grant this year. And based on the Finance Committee recommendations, the funds were distributed as follows. $105,531 will be reserved for the Housing Rehabilitation Program and housing services. $6,500 to Central Jersey Housing Resource Center for housing counseling, credit counseling, and pre-purchase counseling. $6,500 to Home Sharing for their homeless prevention, homeless match program. Family and Community Services, At-Risk Youth, $5,000. Great Expectation Community Child Care, $5,000. Franklin Township Summer Camp, $6,176. $4,500 to the Franklin Township Boys and Girls Circle Club. $1,500 to the Franklin Township Food Bank for its Community Farm Program. $23,400 to the Wyland Senior Center for bathroom conversions. $10,000 to the Sisters Network of Central New Jersey for exterior lighting. $9,302 to Franklin Township Pop Warner. And $4,200 to Great Expectations to replace the floor in Katie's Place. The balance of the grant, $46,902, is reserved for planning and administration. And the other item you have before you tonight is a substantial amendment to the 2011 action plan. And this merely is a budget change, compiling old unexpended funds so that we can use them up in this grant year for rehab and for street improvements.
Were these unexpended funds? Is that what that is?
Yes, it is. It's leftover grant balances that we compiled together so that we can bring our budget in line.
Okay, and use that money for items
For
in town?
activities, yes.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Otherwise, we'll go on.
Mayor, just a quick
Councilman Vasanella.
comment, and I guess question, because you're as knowledgeable as anybody on the process that this went through. And for full disclosure, I'm on the Board of Trustees. We do not receive any money or reimbursement for anything, but I'm on the Board of Trustees of Central Jersey Housing Resource Center. And I just want to bring this point forward. I've looked this over, and I don't have a particular place I'm saying take it from somewhere else, but just so people know that housing counseling services, that's the exact, and Ms. Mitchell, please, if you have anything to add to it, that's the exact type of services, is my understanding, that could, if engaged earlier, could have kept the family that we were referring to earlier in their home possibly, or with a much smoother transition to other housing. So again, I am board member, I'm going to be abstaining from that part of the vote regardless. But remember, folks, all these other things in here are nice, and I do support every one of them, but I personally would like to see the balance of the $9,000 basically be put towards that, because that would mean that we are serious as a township, because that is where we can actually, that this town actually does have control of doing something to keep people in their houses, quite literally. So I'm going to leave it up to the people in the Finance Committee, or whatever committees, or if Ms. Mitchell has any commentary as to where, if maybe out of that surplus, we can bump up that figure for that line item.
Unfortunately, we can't, because there's a 15% cap on what we can spend for public services. However, I do want to bring it to your attention that, I do want to bring it to your attention that Central Jersey Housing Resource Center gets quite a bit of money from the township to do similar services. That money, and there is a special fund being dedicated to them out of your Affordable Housing Trust Fund if it doesn't disappear, where they're going to be doing exactly that, foreclosure counseling. Yes.
Okay.
I think it's around $300,000.
Oh, I don't know if it's that much, but, so, you may be right. So you're saying that it couldn't come out of anything, or it's very limited in where it could be, even if council desired?
You would be taking money from one of the other grantees that you have listed there in order to do that.
Like the food bank or the
right, exactly.
homeless mountain?
Okay. Exactly.
Okay, well, I can appreciate that. Perhaps next year it could be, given as strong consideration as possible. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Did you want Mr. Reynoso? No.
No, I'll talk to Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Chase and Councilman Prasad?
Well, I just wanted to say that I thought that Central Jersey Housing Resource Center was doing that kind of thing, and this is paid for out of our Housing Trust Fund. And we did approve $300,000. Of course, most of that is for either grants in some circumstances or loans in other circumstances, small grants especially when, let's say, somebody has the prospect of making it if you can, for instance, pay off back condo association dues. We have, but we have adopted this program. And in fact, I was sort of wondering, why are we putting CDBG money into doing this? In this case, is this something that is not provided for from the Housing Trust Fund?
Yes, it is. It's my understanding with, like you said, with the Housing Trust Fund, that it is going to provide down payment assistance and it's going to do foreclosure counseling. But this grant fund right here does pre-purchase counseling, it does rental counseling, it does credit counseling, it does a lot of other things that I don't think the Affordable Housing Grant is covering. It just allows them to expand the umbrella of the services that they provide to us.
Okay. So let the appropriation stand as recommended.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So now we're actually at, thank you for the
Thank you,
update.
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Just-
Councilman Prasad, sure, you want to speak?
Yeah, Johnny Tibbs was here, and he was, I'm looking at, you had asked for $40,000 for pool security. Maybe that could defray some of the cost.
Yeah, but they're not recommending
That grant item wasn't funded. The Finance Committee recommended that it be funded from the parks bond, the park improvement bond, the fencing there. Had we funded that $40,000 item, we wouldn't have funded anything else.
Okay.
Okay, we couldn't do that there. Mr. Tibbs, I spoke to Mr. Tibbs prior to the meeting, and I let him know that the Community Development Block Grant program is supporting the summer program this year. We gave them $5,000 for the summer camp for 2011, and we gave them an additional $5,000 for the Boys and Girls Circle Club, which they have diverted to the summer camp. So they have a total of $10,000 from CDBG for the summer camp program. And we also funded 2011 last year improvements at Williams Park, the pool. We're putting in a handicap accessible chair there. And the year before that, we did the liner out of CDBG. So we have not neglected that area and have supported the department with their needs at Naaman Williams Park.
Thank you.
Yeah, you actually had 15,000 for summer camp, and now you got 6,000.
Because the grant is limited, we only have a total of
Yeah, okay.
yeah, there's a limit of 15% of the grant. So we had to distribute it as best we could, not leaving anyone out, because I've attended and monitored almost all of those activities, and I think they're all worthy of being funded. I wish we had more money and could give them more of what we have, but unfortunately, the regulations don't permit it.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
we've got to get creative and find ways of funding the program.
These things,
Just
yeah.
looking at things that could possibly have been changed, but,
Okay.
thank you.
Right. So we're now at item 13A, which is the public hearing. On these things, there's a public hearing. So there's the motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on the fiscal year 2012 Community Development Block Grant Program, 2012 Action Plan. And that's the third year of our 2010 to 2014 consolidated plan.
So moved.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. This public hearing on the fiscal year 2012 Community Development Block Grant Program 2012 Action Plan, which is the third year of the 2010 to 2014 consolidation plan, is open to the public. Anyone interested in speaking on this particular topic, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one from the public is interested in speaking, I move we close this portion of the public hearing.
Seconded.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. We're now at item 13B, which is the actual resolution. But before we do that, since Many of us are affiliated with these organizations. I just want to ask our attorney, are there times when we should abstain, or can we vote, or how should this work?
I would only suggest, as Councilman Fasenelli indicated, if you serve on the board of any of these organizations, you really should abstain on the vote on the entire. And I don't know that any of you do, but if anybody is currently a board member of one of these, because they're essentially not-for-profit programs, they should abstain from this vote.
Yep.
Okay.
Got one question. Excuse me.
Councilman Wright?
When you say abstain, I'm Pop Warner's game announcer. So you want me to abstain?
Do you volunteer for them?
Yes, I volunteer.
I don't think that's the case. I think if you serve on their board, that would.
Oh, okay.
Policy, et cetera.
I just wanted to make sure. We good then.
Good clarification.
Yes.
Okay. So then, is there a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2012 Community Development Block Grant Program 2012 Action Plan, third year of the 2010 to 2014 Consolidation Plan?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. It's presented to the Township Council for adoption. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on Resolution 12-288, Community Development Block Grant, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Abstain.
Councilman Wright?
Okay. Whoops. Okay. So now we come to 13D, public hearing on substantial amendment of number 2, Community Development Block Grant 2011 Action Plan. That's what Ms. Mitchell had described as money in excess from the 2011 that's being recategorized so we can spend it for our residents. This is money that comes to us, I think, from the federal government to the state. Is there a motion to open the meeting for a public hearing on substantial amendment number 2 of the Community Development Block Grant 2011 Action Plan?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. There's public hearing on this substantial amendment number 2 of the CDBG Grant 2011 Action Plan. It's now open for the public. Anyone interested in speaking on this particular topic, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one from the public coming forward, I move that we close the public session.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion is carried. Public hearing is closed for that resolution. Thank you. So is there a motion for Resolution 12-317, to authorize substantial amendment number 2 of the Community Development Block Grant 2011 Action Plan?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please pull the council on item 13D on the agenda, Resolution 12-317, to authorize the substantial amendment number 2 of the Community Development Block Grant 2011 Action Plan.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Abstain.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Next, we come to our only ordinance hearing of the evening. Ordinances, before they go into law, are usually voted on twice, they're voted on once, and usually about a month later, they're voted on a second time. At that second vote, there's a public hearing so people can speak about it. Then if it's passed, it goes into law. So we only have one this evening. It's item 14A on the agenda. It's ordinance number 3981-12. It's a bond ordinance for various information technology improvements, basically in the amount of $396,000. It's hardware and software. If the software is related to the hardware, it's in this bond ordinance. It's actual computers, time and attendance software associated with them, recreation software associated with the computers. So this is ordinance number 3981-12, a bond ordinance providing for various information technology improvements in and by the Township of Franklin in the County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, known as the Township, appropriating $396,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $377,100 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. The Township Attorney has approved the affidavit of publication. The public hearing is in order. Is there a motion to open the meeting for public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Meeting is open for public discussion on this particular ordinance. Anyone interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one's interested in speaking, I move we close.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Public discussion is closed for this ordinance. Thank you. Is there motion for final passage of the ordinance and publication in accordance with law?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 14A, ordinance 3981-12, please.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Mayor Levine,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. We have item 15 is ordinance introductions, of which we do not have any this evening. Item number 16, A through Y, is our consent agenda. The consent agenda are usually items of a general routine nature that can be voted on at any one time. It's any council person's prerogative to take something off for a separate vote. So if items 16A through Y is listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, they're presented to the Township Council for adoption. Is there a motion for the consent agenda or discussion? Deputy Mayor Kramer.
I'd like to pull J for a separate vote.
Okay, J.
Or-
Resolution 12-298, approval of electric warning signal agreement, South Middlebush Road. Okay. Any other comments or motion for the remainder of the consent agenda?
Motion for passage of the remainder of the agenda.
Second.
Second, okay. Moved and seconded for 16A through Y with the exception of
J.
J. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please poll the council on the consent agenda A through Y without J.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Mayor Levine,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Okay, motion is carried. Okay, Deputy Mayor Kramer, did you want to
Yes.
discuss or make a motion?
So I guess I want to make the motion to just delay the vote on it till we have more information. I was at a late date at the beginning of the meeting, handed an email which most of us probably didn't see, and I didn't see it till the beginning of this meeting. I guess staff had asked for this light. I'm sorry, what this resolution is about is putting a blinking yellow light at the bottom of that place where South Middlebush takes a big dip, and 6 Mile Run's trail crosses it, and to put a blinking yellow light to protect people from who are crossing it. And I think it's a good idea, and it sounds like staff asked for it. My concerns about it are just to find out a little bit more about it. First of all, it's a county road and a state park, and it's been put towards me that, but it's a township trail. What is a trail within the township, but it's a trail that is controlled by the state in that they closed one section of it. They did let us know about it, but they didn't really ask our permission or have our vote on it. So it is a state, a state trail and a county road, but we are asked to pay for it, and this resolution doesn't tell us how much it costs. It also is a solar-powered light, and anyone who's driven that area, it's down a bit in a valley, and it's very tree-covered, so I'd like to know what their plan is with that. Maybe they're going to run a wire to a nearby meadow and put up the solar panels there. I'm not sure. So really, all I want to do is to pull it. It could be on next time and get answers to those specific questions.
We could either not vote, or do you want to table it till next meeting?
I guess I guess table, whatever the, yeah,
Table.
So I move
No.
to table?
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, now just for clarification, just want information come to us, you want public safety, or it'll just come to all of us?
I'm happy for it to come to us, but if public safety or wants to intervene or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, Mayor, for,
Councilman
yeah, for
Vaccaro?
what it's worth, I mean, Public Safety is actually meeting the afternoon of the 10th, I believe, at least is tentative. But I don't want it to delay it. It can come back to council, but if those answers are going out, they can, the information that Deputy Mayor Kramer requested, if it can just be forwarded to the Public Safety Committee, not necessarily that we have to hold up a vote for July 10th.
Okay, so it could come to the to the council, and the Public Safety Committee could certainly choose to examine that on the
I'm
day.
sorry,
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
you're meeting on July 10th?
My understanding is that we had a tentative meeting because we had some carryover
So
items.
great, you guys can have a bit more, a longer discussion, and maybe you can just fill us in on the little details?
Take a bite of the apple, and they're very good with briefing us if they think there is an issue with it, but,
I just want to make
Councilman
sure
Sherman?
we do have that meeting.
Yeah,
Because I don't want to delay this.
no, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying, that's what I'm saying. If we do the 10th, we'll chime in. If we don't, we'll bring it to the floor for a vote then. assuming
Either way.
Deputy Mayor gets, the information by then.
That's fine.
Okay, so the motion is to table this, perhaps it'll go to Public Safety if that committee so chooses. Is there a second to table?
Second.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor of tabling, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion is carried. Okay, so that'll come to us next time. Thank you for that, to bring it to our attention. We now had 17 is items voted on separately. There were two.
You never know.
Let's see, one of the what was 17B has been removed, although 17A, 12-314 foreclosure resolution. Councilman Vasanella, did you want to?
I have nothing really to
Yes.
say. The amendments that, I apologize if they were confusing at the last meeting, but they were prepared by the clerk. It's there. I know he can't vote. I just want to remind Councilman Regan, who was one of the, had concerns about it earlier, did see the new one and had suggested earlier that he was going to support it. So I'm just ready to introduce it and see where the vote goes, Mayor. So I would motion to introduce it unless there's
Seconded.
other discussion.
Okay, so moved and second on 17A, 12-314, the foreclosure resolution, which basically endorses the concept of stopping foreclosures till all options have been exhausted, I'm guessing especially in the area of federal and state governments. Did I encapsulate that?
Right.
Well?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
If, Deputy Mayor Kramer?
So, I like it, but I don't think it goes far enough. I think some more thought could have been put into this. For instance, we have affordable housing money. I think we should include in here a statement that the township should be allowed to consider diverting some of their affordable housing money to helping settle foreclosures or delaying foreclosures or putting them off. I think, or the state has affordable housing money, that could also be derived there. And we could also get together with Mr. Healy and talk about the Central Jersey Housing Resource Center and see how they can divert funds towards this. So I think we could get more specific rather than the general statements here. These are the kind of statements that can be overlooked easily. And if we put forward suggestions, we can be leaders in this and maybe even divert some of our affordable housing money there. I'm not sure that we have that money. We've recently committed it in many ways, but perhaps this could be a model to other townships that they could do that. And we could do some things on the local level.
So, Mayor, could I just respond to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything Councilman Kramer, Deputy Mayor Kramer just said. I just want to respond since I made the amendment to the original one that was submitted by a resident.
But can't we?
The options, just one second, the options you mentioned are great, and there's a whole list.
Not even legal.
And quite honestly, instead of just trying to get everything put on a list and attach, that's what we meant by utilizing all of the options, using for eviction or foreclosure as a last resort. So I'm going to suggest this, and ironically, Ms. Saba, who has been pushing this, mentioned to me when I had walked to the hall for something, that she'd like to see us take it a step further, and we, a very quick discussion, decided maybe we can come up with some written document that is there so the public, or anybody in the public that knows somebody, will have, some kind of a guide sheet that says, here's all these steps, all these possible programs or fixes to your situation. So I agree. I'd hate to see this held up. We can still take it a step further in creating that more the way that Deputy Mayor just described.
Councilwoman Francois?
I think those are all great ideas, but we need to know legally what our options are. So,
Are you suggesting we just go with this, then see if we...
well, because we have an attorney here, and I know there are certain criteria that you can utilize affordable housing trust funds and others that you can't. So,
Well, there's a couple of different parts to this. The first was, I listened intently to the story that we heard earlier today about somebody who was being foreclosed and being moved out of their house. I mean, fundamentally, that should be the role of the Central Jersey Housing Resource Center, who is our consultant who manages our affordable housing program. They have housing available. They know where the housing is available. They have, they have their handles on all of our programs. So there should be some process where those people who are in that situation are referred to them and that they're there. And sometimes there's not, it's easy to say, well, it's terrible that people bought these houses and they're not worth what they are, and what's the government going to do about it? Well, the answer is that maybe the government's not going to do anything about it because people make bad business deals. But that having been said, that means the government can't come in and make your house worth, less and can't give you money for your mortgage. But they can file your affordable housing if you need it. And I think that's the purpose of it. The second thing is that there have been a number of programs across the state explored about using affordable housing money to go in and try to save foreclosed properties. Of course, what happens is that those properties then become, deed-restricted affordable properties, but there are those kind of programs. So the answer is, once again, it's a testament to the social sense of this council that we've spent so much time talking about this resolution, asking the federal government and the state government to do something. So I don't know whether you want to spend that much more time on it, but I think that if, adding to it, urging the township to explore ways to use available resources like the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to help people whose properties are being foreclosed. I think that's two sentences that you could add to this.
We can add. If we could just add that tonight. I just meant I didn't want to hold it up, but if we can
capsulize.
capsulize.
And certainly, and that's in the realm of something that's really doable.
So if the deputy mayor wants to capsulize that in a couple sentences, I'd be happy to,
I think,
well,
Anne Marie, did you
I could hear it again, to add it to the resolution.
I think Anne Marie has it, and she can add that sentence to it.
So what would be the protocol then to
make a motion
amend
to
my
amend.
motion to include with the
Okay.
suggestions of deputy mayor?
If that's an amendment and you accept it,
Then you
Oh,
don't do
yeah,
anything.
I'm fine, thanks for
Yeah.
the suggestion. I misperceived that, I thought it would hold it up, so no, I
This-
amended to include
Second.
that.
the
Thank you.
seconder was Councilman
Right,
Prasad, that's okay
right.
for you?
Seconded, yeah,
Does anyone need it read, or we can just go ahead?
go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I just have one other comment.
Mayor
and
Kramer?
This is, I'm sorry, a little bit of grandstanding or soapbox standing or whatever, but I just think it is sad that we are now approaching 4 years out from the economic meltdown, and the people responsible for it with the credit default swaps and subprime loans, not a single prosecution has come about. So
amen.
Amen. We are suffering, and they made a lot of money.
That's right. It's terrible.
Okay, Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on the resolution as amended.
Councilman Chase,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Mayor Levine,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes,
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella,
Yes.
Councilman Wright.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. Now, what was 17B has been removed from the agenda. Now we have 17C, resolution vote on separately, Resolution 12-316, award a contract, Morris County Cooperative Pricing Program, Somerset County Improvement Authority, for 10 2013 Ford Interceptor police vehicles, Celebrity Ford LLC, doing business as Bayer Ford, amount not to exceed $255,140. It's basically buying 10 police cars. So this resolution, 12-316, is presented to the council for adoption. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved with
Seconded.
comment.
Moved and seconded. If no discussion.
My,
Oh, Deputy Mayor Kramer?
my comment is simply that they were initially going to get some Chevys. Those weren't available. This is for some Fords, and we're saving $14,000 in the process. So kudos to the police for that switch.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please pull the council on item 17C, Resolution 12-316, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. Next up, 18, old business. Any comments on old business? Okay. If not, we have an executive session. There were two listed originally. Litigation Pulte has been pulled, that's 19B. So we have 19A, acquisition of land contract negotiations, East Millstone First Aid Squad. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution calling for executive session for the items listed on the resolution as follows? Acquisition of land contract negotiations, East Millstone First Aid Squad.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Ms. McCarthy, please poll the council on item 19 for the resolution to go into executive session, please.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Okay, motion is carried. We're going to go into executive session. Executive session is when you speak about things privately. There's only certain times we can do that, such as contract negotiations, personnel matters, such as that. And when we come out of executive session, we'll only take two pieces of action. Number one will be to vote to come out of executive session, and number two will be to vote to adjourn the meeting. So at this point, our taping will stop. Thank you very much for viewing. Have a good and worthwhile 4th of July Independence Day.